51 attempts for 135 yards, 4 TD passes. He has thrown 1 interception, and then, as Philip mentioned, also a threat on the ground. 24 carries for 131 yards, averaging 5.6 yards per carry, 2 rushing TDs. And Leigh runs a spread offense, and they will face off against the Gunderson's 4-2-5 defense scheme. And Gunderson comes into tonight's game wearing their traveling uniforms, white jerseys, yellow helmets and pants with brown numbers. Leigh Longhorns, the host team, in their green and gold. Green uniforms, all green, helmets and uniforms with yellow numbers on the back and white piping on their jerseys. Leigh won the toss, elected to receive. Gunderson will kick it off right to left in front of us here in San Jose, California. Let's get to the starting lineups of the Leigh offense. The big guys up front, the left tackle is Travis Eto'o, nicknamed Tex, and he's right next to number 62, Christian Tran, whose nickname is Sumo. The center tonight, Elijah Mosley. The right guard, Curtis Knudsen. The right tackle is Jack Conway. The receivers, Marcus Malazzo and Brian Galvin. The slot receivers, Alex Smith and Tommy Druhan. Gabe Davis is the quarterback, and one to watch is the running back, Levon Donald, one of the captains on this Leigh team. The starting defense for Gunderson tonight. Up front in the 4-2-5 scheme, Eugene Dankwa and Ulysses Merritt are the ends. Tackles, Wes Barton and Horish White. Cornerbacks, LeJean Packer and Eric Naharo. Philip Negron is the linebacker, and Noah Evaristo, Tayshawn Clark, and Nick Melcher are the safeties. Getting ready to kick off. 12 minutes of the first quarter. Gunderson kicking off right to left. Ulysses Merritt has it teed off, and it's a deep kick taken at the 5. Gunderson on the move. Room to run. Plenty of room to run. He's at his own 40 across midfield and then run down from behind. And what a start for Leigh in their home game. They will go to work from the Gunderson 46.
Excellent return by Brian Galvin, giving the Leigh Longhorns excellent field position to start. And anytime you can get a first drive starting in enemy territory, you can't ask for anything better out of your special teams unit.
Kyle Padilla teaches physical education not only here at Leigh High School, but also at Branham. And he is a graduate of Leigh, and just like his counterpart tonight, he was a quarterback.
Very interesting.
Very interesting indeed. Our officiating crew, the referee is Steve Carter, the umpire is Rich Renaga, the head linesman Jim Orcutt, line judge Dan Beck, and our back judge tonight, Phelan O'Brien. Gabe Davis, the quarterback. Out of the shotgun, sends a man in motion toward the near sideline. And the first handoff of the game taken at the 50. Coming around the right side is Donald, and Donald with a big-time run to start off this game.
And that's what you want the Leigh Longhorns to do, is to establish the run game early on. You don't necessarily have to do the traditional run up the middle just to get everything going, but utilize Donald's speed to get to the outside. Try and stretch that Gunderson defense out sideline to sideline.
And I think our chain gang is not in position. First down was signaled. And we're going to have to wait to see if our officiating crew notices. Now the chain gang is moving. Pickup of 3 on the run. And it looks like now we're set. 2nd and 8 from the Gunderson 31. First pass of the game. Davis scrambling to his left. Pressure coming. Evades 2 tacklers and perhaps worked his way back to the original line of scrimmage.
Sometimes you can only keep a play alive for so long, but you got to give Davis a little bit of credit, using his feet to try to keep it alive as much as he could. But Gunderson, relentless pursuit of the quarterback, forced him to a 3rd and long.
Actually, a loss of 1 on the play. It's now 3rd and 11. So good coverage by the Gunderson secondary as Donald rumbles through, or maybe 2. So this will bring up 4th and long for the Longhorns. So Coach Padilla going to work here early.
No, he has to, and of course, if you're the Gunderson defense, you have to feel pretty happy about that first possession. With the special teams breakdown to get them into your own side of the field early on and to force them into a 4th and long already, Gunderson's defense has got to get one more stop, but they're well on their way.
And they are going to go for it. Again, the ball spotted on the 31. And through the legs of Davis, he picks it up at the 43, and Gunderson, and evades tacklers, throws the ball wide open, touchdown, Leigh, the most improbable of touchdowns, a 31-yard strike. Can you believe it?
You know what? When that snap was bobbled, I couldn't either. But as Davis was rolling out to his left, there was Alex Smith right there, wide open, down there. I don't know if maybe it was just a busted coverage out there, but give credit to Gabe Davis keeping his head about him, keeping his wits about him, and making the play happen. That is a testament to Gabe Davis's athletic ability. Very nicely done.
Spencer Barnes is the holder, Curtis Knudsen is the long snapper, and Michael Leichman, one of 2 kickers on this team, in for the extra point. It is through. 8:56 left to go in the first quarter. 7-0 Leigh.
Not exactly what you'd expect as far as the first score goes, at least the traditional way, but I got to tell you something. That was a fortuitous bounce that went for the way of Gabe Davis, because as he was pursuing the ball, he had at least 4 Gunderson defenders having him in their sights essentially, and just his way to keep everything about him and to just lob it up, and there was Alex Smith just right there waiting to make the basket catch. It was just the absolutely perfect scenario right there. So a great start for the Leigh Longhorns offense.
And the huge cheerleading squad, the great pep band, plenty to celebrate here early on the Leigh campus. Naveed Edifa is the second kicker on this Leigh squad, and he will handle the kickoff duties. Known for touchbacks, he will kick off left to right in front of us here at the bowl. Back deep for Gunderson. Dejon Packer and Tayshawn Clark. Taken at the 5. Cutting back, running into trouble, and maybe across the 21. So a pretty decent return for Gunderson as they go to work. Tayshawn Clark setting them up nicely with a return.
Now we're going to see how the Gunderson offense is going to respond to that opening drive touchdown. And Gunderson, not exactly a big utilizer of the passing game, so we're going to see how they set up their run game here early
That's
on.
right. Gunderson runs the I option. It's an I formation. Left tackle is Anthony Zalaveta, the left guard, Harish White. Logard Pollard starting at center tonight. That is a change. Roel Sukol is the right guard, and Mel Satella is the right tackle. We will get to the rest of the starters after this play. 1st and 10 from their own 22, and the quarterback, Dejon Packer, keeps it still on his feet, zigging and zagging. He's at the 40, the 50, and finally ridden down in Leigh territory. What a big gain by Dejon Packer, the starting quarterback. Let me quickly fill out the starting lineup. Eric Najarro and Noah Evaristo are the receivers. Tight end is Ulysses Merritt, and the running backs are Nick Melcher, the fullback, Philippe Negron.
And, of course, Packer not wasting any time getting that first big play under his belt. So now Gunderson having things moving along very, very swimmingly here as Packer, again, utilizing those quick feet, bouncing around to the outside. That was very impressive.
That is a 36-yard run by Packer to open this ball game. He was listed early in the season as a running back. He is the quarterback of the Gunderson Grizzlies. And the handoff to his fullback, Negron. Negron around the left side for a healthy gain. That may be a first down as well. Nick Melcher with the carry.
Just the way the Gunderson offense runs their plays almost reminds you a little bit of the Wildcat. The quarterback really just more of an option to run the ball, not really necessarily a threat to throw. But when you've got the feet of Packer and then the running style of Nick Melcher, you got a whole different slew of weapons to try to go at this Leigh defense here.
Leigh defense, a 3-4 scheme. The defensive ends, Elijah Mosley and Cash Ward. Christian Tran is the nose guard. Cornerbacks are Nick Mara and Tavery Carrasco. Outside linebackers Dalton Nold and Nick Rubio. Inside linebackers Alex Smith and Sam Cotton. Sean Cosentino is the free safety. Lavon Donald, the strong safety. 1st and 10 with a fresh set of downs and a bad attempt at a pitch for the quarterback who was in trouble, and looks like Leigh has recovered. Leigh has recovered the fumble.
And you sort of have to wonder what Dejon Packer was thinking. Being dragged down by a couple different defenders, sometimes just to preserve the possession, you just have to go down. I mean, I think he was trying to do a little bit too much, probably some early game jitters, but now you just gift Leigh with another possession. The way their offense moved already, you could be for a little bit of trouble here.
Leigh will go to work from their own 45, 8:15 left to go in the first. The Longhorns playing with a 7-0 lead. Davis still in the shotgun, 2 receivers out, actually twin receivers. Davis looking quickly to his left, and the throw pass is caught and dragged down at the 50, so a gain of 5 on the catch.
Brian Galvin being targeted early and often so far. That's already his first catch of this evening. But he's already made a big impact with the big kick return to start the game. And I have a feeling we're going to be calling his name plenty tonight.
Good spot for Leigh. They actually have the ball spotted at the Gunderson 49, and lots of movement on the line. It'll be false start against the Longhorns.
There you see Jack Conway there, number 60, with a little bit of early movement right there. And first penalty of the night for Leigh, so if you're Coach Padilla, you would hope that this does not become a trend. Obviously, of course, this being the first league game, you would think that all the fine-tuning has to have been completed by now.
The Santa Teresa division is one of 3 divisions in the Blossom Valley Athletic League. It's considered the B division, if you will, with Mount Hamilton the A and West Valley the C. 7:30 left to go, 2nd and 9 after the penalty for Davis and company. Davis sends his slot in motion, far side to near. And the handoff. Donald cutting back inside and back into Gunderson territory. He really likes that right side.
No, he does, and I think that's where you might see a lot of those running plays go. I mean, and when you can stretch Donald to the outside, you can really take advantage of his speed, and you can see how he moves his legs going through around to the outside. I mean, he's got the burst, and if the offensive line can spring him free, he could be really due for some big gains.
The ball actually spotted just short of midfield. 3rd and 5 for the Longhorns. Davis changing the play. Davis looking to his left, scrambling to his right. Has a man open, sends him down in traffic. A nice deflection, great play by the Gunderson defense. And stepping up and making that play, it looks like Tayshawn Clark had a hand in there.
It was
and Noah Evaristo as well.
Right, and double coverage there by Gunderson. So a little bit of a risky throw there by Davis, but when you're scrambling out because of a broken play, you really just have to go with your one read that you can find and just risk it. So a nice stop by Gunderson, so they force a punt here.
Edifa into punt. He is the senior. He's a midfielder on the soccer team and a punter, and handles kickoff duties here on the football team. A great punt taken at the 15 and dragged down immediately, maybe just 3 on the carry. So a good punt by Edifa, and Gunderson goes to work. 6:25 left to go in the first quarter, trailing 7-0 to Leigh.
And of course, something that is always talked about on a special teams coverage, the punter never really wants to outkick his coverage. There you see a perfect example, punting it right to where his coverage could get it, and the rest just fell into place right there, and Packer only able to get 5, maybe 6 yards on the return.
Well, Coach Kyle Padilla told me this week how grateful he is that 2 soccer players came out for the team. He did not even have to recruit them. He kind of inherited them, and that is Naveed Edifa, who's the midfielder in soccer handling the punting, and then his point after field goal guy, who's a forward, Michael Leichman. Gunderson in the I formation, and the handoff to Melcher, and good defense by the Leigh Longhorns up front. Not much there for Melcher.
And this is the advantage you have when you run a 3-4 type of defense. Usually what that means is your linebackers are not only your deepest pool of talent, but they're also some of your best playmakers. And when you allow them to roam sideline to sideline, you can at least bottle up some of the running game. There you saw right there, a good example how they stopped Melcher right at the line of scrimmage.
No gain on the play for Gunderson. Again, Dejon Packer, well, he is the real deal, according to his head coach, the 5'10", 185-pound sophomore quarterback. Packer looking to throw, and we're going to have a flag thrown as the intended receiver fell down, and that intended receiver, Noah Evaristo, and they're going to say he got tripped up as the penalty comes in pass interference against the Longhorns.
Looks like that was Tavery Carrasco there who was going to get flagged for the pass interference. Almost looked like he pushed him down as the pass was coming in. I don't know maybe if it was the trip or what, but Tavery Carrasco, whether it was intentional or not, he got caught red-handed.
As our officiating crew marks off the penalty. Ball now spotted at the 34. Fresh set of downs after the penalty for Gunderson. Packer, again, will be under center for this I formation offense. The inside handoff to his running back. And, you know, this is the kind of offense that will chip away, and we're seeing some chipping away, if you will, as Philippe Negron with the carry.
It reminds me a little bit of the wing T as well. It's exclusively a ground type of offense. It's going to run down the clock. You're not really going to see a lot of risk-taking here. And that's really what a running style like this is going to take. Minimize the risk, keep the ball on the ground, keep the clock moving. Really especially works if you've got a lead, but Gunderson's got to get on the board first.
Coach Pappin's so excited about his sophomore quarterback, saying this kid will play Division I ball.
Wow. Still
has 2 years in high school as he starts here at quarterback tonight. 2nd and 8 from the 36. Going downtown, a great pass. Looked like there might have been some contact, no call. And are you a bit surprised? We're seeing the arm of Donald.
That was a little bit of a surprise. I mean, here we go talking about how it's a low-risk type of offense. Of course, here comes Packer dropping back, letting it fly. And, of course, there with Nick Moore on the coverage. I would have thought he might have gotten flagged there too, but he was very, very fortunate not to get caught.
3rd and 8 for Gunderson. So Packer testing the secondary as Melcher dots the I in the formation, and trouble coming off the end, and Packer scrambling, evading problem, still on his feet. 1st down yardage and more. He's at the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10. Touchdown, Gunderson. Unbelievable. 30 from the 36-yard line. Philip, we've seen some big plays already.
And that one just as impressive as the lead touchdown. I mean, you're seeing Packer scramble to the outside, just utilizing his feet to avoid any and all sorts of lead defenders. And once he got to the second level, once he got to the open field, forget it. He turned on the jets, he was gone, and there was no way anybody was going to catch him. That's what happens when you have such an athletic quarterback. If the lead defenders had wrapped him up, we would have seen a 4th down for Gunderson to possibly punt it away. But give Dejon Packer a lot of credit. Kept his wits about him, kept his feet moving, which was very key, and just made something happen. That was very impressive.
Ulysses Merritt to kick. Noah Evaristo is the long snapper. Dejon Packer is the holder. And actually, nope, they're going to go for 2. Going for 2 after the 64-yard scramble by Packer. Packer rolling out to his right and gets brought down. 4:36 left to go, and Leigh holds on to the 1-point lead, 7-6.
A little interesting call by Coach Pappin there early on, but you know what, though? Everything that we've talked about so far, just the way this offense is structured. Packer has put Gunderson back into this game, and we may have an injury down there on the field for Gunderson, and hopefully it's not Packer, but if it is, that'd be a big problem.
That's right. The training staff coming out, and it looks like the player trying to get up on his feet on his own volition and gingerly walking off. And Philip, I had a chance to speak with Steve Pappen, the former Arena Football League player, and I asked about his kicker and asked about the field goal range, and he said, we don't know what that is because we're going to play arena football here, which means we will not see a lot of field goal attempts, but I am a bit surprised we didn't even see a point after attempt so early in the game.
Exactly. I'm just as surprised as you are. I mean, it's a bold move early on to try to get the lead early, but I could see if it was maybe a fourth quarter type of thing, say, okay, you get the 2 points, you're going to win the game, but you've still got 3 quarters of football left to play, so interesting move by Coach Pappen, but he's still got plenty of time. There's still 3 quarters left, but Packer has definitely put them back in the game. Now the question is, will Packer even return to the game? Because we saw him walk off pretty gingerly here.
Well, actually, I'm not sure if that was an Alan Keaton-Marian. We'll keep on our eye on the injured player for sure as Ulysses Merritt to tee it up for the kickoff for Gunderson. Again, 4:36 left to go in the first quarter. We've had 2 scores, one from each team, in just dramatic fashion. Philip, if this keeps up, we're in for a whale of a ball game.
No, it's been very entertaining already, and you would hope that it would extend all the way through. But big plays on both sides of the ball. This has already been quite a game. It's already the first quarter.
Merritt, short kick. Taken at the 15. Cutting back inside. Plenty of room for these return guys inside, as just finding the lane is Marcos Malazzo.
Another great return. The Leigh special teams unit really standing out to me so far. They've been able to hold their blocks, create lanes for their kick return team, and it's really setting them up with some great field position. Again, Leigh at their own 40. Only have to go 60 yards this time, so very, very good start for them again.
Yeah, Leigh cannot complain about its field possession. Field position as 1st and 10. Actually, the ball now spotted at the 39 as Gabe Davis goes to work again. And Davis on it, fakes the handoff, keeps it on a keeper, and that turned out well for him. At least 8 on the play.
Now you see a little zone read option right there for quarterback Gabe Davis. Faking like he was going to hand off to Donald, reading the coverage, see if the defenders were going to follow him. And that's a similar side that they were running on with Donald on his first couple of carries. So very creative play calling there for the Leigh Longhorns.
Lavon Donald comes into this ball game, 31 carries for 220 yards. 5'11", 185-pound senior. 3 TDs on the season, and he's got the ball now, cutting back inside. Cross for the first down. We should see the sticks move.
And there you see,
he does.
And there you see Donald showing a little bit of power there, bouncing off a couple of Gunderson tacklers. But now, Donald, what we're seeing so far is more the complete package of running back. He has the speed. He's got the power to mow through a couple of tacklers here and there. So, and running him to the left, a little bit of a wrinkle there.
1st and 10 from midfield. Coming around the near sideline, Sean Cosentino with another big run. So Leigh showing it can run on this Grizzly defense.
They can, and if you're Gunderson, you've got to be a little bit concerned here. And this is one of the things with that 4-2-5 defense. There's not as many linebackers out in the field, so not as much of a chance for them to come up and try to crowd the line of scrimmage. See, the secondary, when you have 5 defensive backs, it guards against the passing game, and you have to guard against that when you have Gabe Davis there under center. But it does expose you a little bit on the running game because of the lack of linebackers there.
11-yard gain by Cosentino, so 1st and 10 from the Gunderson 39, 2:45 left to go in the first. Leigh with a 7-6 lead. And a big run brought down again, so again Cosentino, this time off the left side. Philip, Gunderson's going to need to put up a fight up front.
No, they do, and like what you're talking about here, winning the war in the trenches, that's really going to be key, especially when you have 4 defensive linemen there. They have to be disrupted. They have to go upfield. They have to make sure they can disrupt plays before they can materialize. And what you've seen with these couple of runs with Cosentino right now, the Leigh offensive line is just having its way up front, and it's opening up all kinds of room.
So Cosentino proving he's a threat. 11-yard run followed up by a 9-yard run. It's 2nd and 1 at the 30 for the Longhorns. Davis Play action going downtown, and there are penalties markers thrown. And is there a case for offensive PI there?
Both guys were sort of jostling back and forth, so we're going to see how the refs called this one. But again, this is one of those things when you can utilize the play action, it makes the defense bite a little. And Gunderson, there we see the defensive pass interference. They had to compensate for it. You notice how they had to bring a couple extra defensive backs up just to guard against the line of scrimmage.
Less than 2 to go here in the first. PI against Gunderson. The chain gang, I hope they wore their running shoes today, Philip.
Me too.
We've had more first downs in this first quarter than some of the games we've called this season. Bravo to both offenses. First and 10 from the Gunderson 15. Davis keeps it again. That play is working well. Just really good job at faking the handoff. You know, you have to give props to Donald as well for doing his acting in that part, and then it turns out to a very healthy gain for Davis.
Absolutely, and what I'm liking here is that they're utilizing Davis in a whole bunch of different ways. I was talking about how are they going to use him tonight? Were they going to use him as more the traditional quarterback or utilize his athleticism? Really, they're doing a mix of both, and it's really keeping Gunderson on its heels. They have to read and react as opposed to just anticipate an attack.
7-yard gain. 2nd and 3. Davis looking to throw, and his intended receiver seemed to pull up on his route, Brian Galvin. Close in the vicinity, but obviously some miscommunication there.
It was a little close, and of course what I liked what Davis did is that he threw it high, and Galvin really is a tall target, especially, and that comes into play when you're in that red zone, which is where the Longhorns are at now. So being able to throw it high, the worst case scenario is it flies out of the back of the end zone, but you know, you got to put it where Galvin can get it, and only Galvin.
3rd and 2. Davis calling his own number once again. This time Gunderson was ready. As the whistle blows. And on comes the field goal unit for Leigh. It's 4th and 2. And loss of 2 on the play. Again, the kicker is Michael Leichman. Philip, last week he made a 47-yarder into the wind.
Nice.
For Leigh's only score in the loss to Santa Teresa. Knutson the long snapper, Barnes the holder. This will be a 28-yard attempt. Accuracy is what his coach likes most about him, and Leichman delivers. Leigh 10, Gunderson 6, 23 seconds remaining in the first quarter.
And when you have a kicker with that kind of range and accuracy, it really does put your mind at ease a little bit, because there aren't too many teams right now that can trust their kicker, at least at this point. And with Leichman, it really does open up your offense a little bit. Even if you fall short in the red zone, you say, hey, we've got a chance to get some points here. Let's take them while we can. And he gives you that option to do that. Think of it as a right-footed Janikowski, if you will.
Well, in some ways, that would be a very good thing. As Leigh giving their home crowd something to cheer about, and exactly, you make such a great point. Sometimes the kicking abilities at the high school level can be so hit or miss, but Coach Padilla really feels like he's got the strength from one kicker and the accuracy from another, and what a luxury for a high school football coach.
No question at all.
Edifon, the strength, kicks it off. Taken at the 5. Gunderson has had fairly decent returns. Here comes another one. He's at the 45, the 50, the 30, running, the 10, touchdown. Gunderson, a 95-yard return. Can you believe it? Gunderson, Tajon Clark with the response. Leigh fans are stunned. He looked for sure that he was going to be run down, Philip, but he had that extra burst.
He did, and what was really deceiving about it is that just the long strides that he had made him look like he was running slower than he was. But as soon as he got past the last couple of lead defenders, you could see just how that long stride was creating all of that separation. And I'm going to tell you, both special teams units have been very strong. Whether it's been the strong kick returns by Leigh or this one, Gunderson saying, hey, Andy, you can do, I can do better. And Tayshawn Clark just told with the great response. And now Gunderson with their first lead of the night.
Well, and maybe just as important, his quarterback, Packer, that potentially suffered that injury in the two-point conversion, doesn't have to come on the field unless they go for two again. And they will. So Packer returns, going for two once again, trailing 12-10. Packer dropping back to throw, evades. Did he get in? He evaded some would-be tacklers. They say yes. Two-point conversion converted. What a shocker, 14-10. Gunderson takes the lead, 8.5 seconds remaining.
I'm willing to take a little friendly wager as to when the scoreboard will go into tilt mode.
Yeah, do they have three numbers up there?
You know what? If they do, there's probably only room for a 1 as the third number. So it's definitely going to be testing the limits of the scoreboard tonight. But, I mean, just a pinball type of game, back and forth. It's been very, very fast-paced. And the best part about it, it's been very clean. Only about 2 penalties so far. And you really have to enjoy that.
And I think, you want your teams to be consistent, your offense, your defense consistent. But when you throw playmakers into the mix, that big play ability, it sure makes the game a lot of fun to watch, coach, and play. And we have got a good one tonight.
And especially when you see all those playmakers on special teams. This is something we rarely ever see, at least from the first few weeks we've been covering high school football here in the CCS. But we've been treated to a bunch of impressive plays so far on the special teams. And that's something we don't really see all that often. So just adding that extra dimension in there makes you think, okay, any play, something can happen. And just that extra dimension just makes it a joy to watch.
Merritt has it teed off. Gunderson kicks off. And it's a squib kick taken by the up man at the 25. Lowers his head and rumbles out just shy of the 40. We'll see the spot. And our return from Brett Kemsky, the junior, as Leigh goes to work. 3.3 seconds remaining in the quarter. We'll see how Leigh handles this. What do you make of Davis thus far?
Davis I've been impressed with. I mean, just all the different wrinkles he's had to deal with in these first couple of plays. He's been very impressive.
Davis out of the shotgun. Twin receiver hands off to Donald. And Donald maybe a loss of 1 on the play. The first quarter is in the books. Gunderson 14, Leigh 10.
Do you want to watch more of your school's great matchups like the game you're enjoying here tonight? Tell your school to sign up for the PlayOn Sports School Broadcast Program. The program allows schools to broadcast all their games and other activities on the web. For more information, go to playonsports.com/SBP.
Gunderson High School nearby, in fact, a 10-minute drive on Blossom Hill Road. That's what separates these two schools. Gunderson established in 1976. And Lehigh, well, this is their 50th anniversary this year. And rivalries can develop when schools have been around for so long, and this is a good one.
Oh, absolutely. And like we had mentioned at the top of the broadcast, they're very much close, not just geographically, but in talent. And you're seeing just with the back and forth action right now, it's lived up to its billing.
Second quarter about to get underway. Gunderson on defense leading 14-10. Second and 11 for Leigh from its own 38. And the pass caught at the 50 as Davis goes to the air early. And Galvin, his favorite target thus far, and Galvin fighting hard for a few yards after the catch.
And favorite target, I think, is an understatement, because what I was noticing on Davis is that was really the only direction he looked. His eyes were fixated on Galvin, and Galvin's such a tall target. He created a lot of good separation on his route and really was impressive on that so far. So just a second catch of the day, but I think we're going to see a lot more.
First and 10 for Leigh at the Gunderson 48. Davis with a handoff to Donald. Donald, room to run. Pickup of 6 on the play.
There you see the fake throw there by Davis to catch Gunderson off guard. Really opened up some space, almost like a creative draw play to get Levon Donald some running lanes to go up the middle, and creates a second and manageable.
David hustles back from the sideline to the huddle. Second and 5 for the Longhorns. Donald plunging forward. What a great burst he has on the dive play.
And running straight ahead. I mean, just with a whole bunch of reckless abandon, keeping the shoulders square. And we've already seen a couple of examples of his power. Just not afraid to meet the Gunderson defenders head on. And normally running backs with his speed, they'd want to avoid contact. He embraces it.
3rd and 1 for Leigh. First time trailing in the ball game and a very entertaining first quarter. Split receivers for Davis. Donald coming around the left side. And first down yardage as he's pushed out into the sidelines, and I think just wanted a bit of a rest. Laid on his back, waited for a teammate to help him up.
Well, his number's been called on for 3 straight plays, so I don't blame him for wanting to catch a gasp of air. But he's been good so far.
Moves the chains once again. First and 10 from the Gunderson 35. That brings Cosentino into the backfield as Donald has a rest. Cosentino, play action, and Davis throwing again into traffic. You know, you really can see how fine-tuned this secondary is for Gunderson. I know they've been called on the PI, but they're really doing a good job denying open looks for the wideouts for Leigh.
Yeah, they really did, especially that last pass was really intended for Tommy Druin, but you noticed how there were 2 Gunderson defenders following him step for step, and really had to force Davis to try to throw him open, and of course it didn't really happen. But the Grizzlies secondary has had some good moments.
Second and 10. Cosentino remains in the backfield. Davis looking to throw again. Pressure coming up the middle as it dumps off the pass to Cosentino. Cosentino trying to break around the far side. Still short of a first down. I like that play call.
No, I do too. And you notice how Davis was patient enough to let it develop. When a slip screen like that happens, a quarterback will want to rush it. But you have to wait until the running back gets a lane. And the object of it is just to get on the ball and let him get in open space and work. And with the type of speed that Cosentino has, it allows you to be able to do that. So watching Davis let that play develop, that was very, very nice.
3rd and 3 from the 28. 9 minutes to go in the half. Leigh trailing 14-10 at home. Davis looking for the option. Instead, he is wrapped up. Cosentino was waiting for a pitch. And that will be a loss on the play and bring up 4th and 6. And hey, Leigh, as we have talked about, has the luxury of having confidence in their kicking game. And Fleischman nails one from 47 yards into the win last week. I asked his coach, well, were you surprised? He said, I couldn't believe it. Yes, I was surprised. So this, hey, why not try some more? This will be a 48-yard attempt.
And the nice thing is it's a very calm night, so he doesn't have to worry about a breeze being blown into his face.
It is a beautiful night. Full moon over the bowl here at Leigh. Fleischman underway. It's low and short. So Leigh will take over from, Gunderson will take over from their own 30. 8:24 left to go in the first half.
I thought the kick was a tad bit low. Maybe he wanted to get a little more trajectory on it, but I mean, the distance is not the problem. I mean, that kid has a serious leg.
Absolutely. Michael Leitchman wanted to recognize that Kyle Padilla Week 1, after they beat Andrew Hill 48-7, Leigh beat Andrew Hill, Kyle Padilla was selected as the San Francisco 49ers Foundation Charlie Wiedemeyer Memorial Coach of the Week. That means that his team, his school, has received a $1,000 scholarship. So a big congrats to Coach Padilla. What an honor, only in his second season with Leigh. Gunderson goes to work, and Donald with the handoff and some big hits going down as there seems to be some sort of tussle for the ball, but Gunderson goes right back to work with that run, and Melcher with a carry.
Melcher runs like a fullback. I mean,
yes.
How many? I think I counted at least 3 defenders that he bounced off, and he's a solidly built gentleman. I mean, 5'11", 180 pounds. That's a big boy.
Just a gain of 1 on play. 2nd and 9 for Gunderson.
Although with that frame, with the pads and everything, he looks a lot bigger.
You're exactly right. In fact, on the first play, I thought he was the fullback, Negron. Melcher with long hair, sometimes covering up his number on the back of his jersey. And the pitch to Melcher coming around the left side. And we talked about a strong runner in his counterpart, Donald, tonight. Melcher certainly has some good size and strength of his own.
Yeah, he does. And he's got a nice little bit of speed. You saw him try to get around to the outside, trying to call that sweep play. And Melcher's really got a lot of good attributes, what you need a running back to have. The vision to see the hole to the outside, the strength that we saw just on the previous run. He's really got a lot of good attributes. It really makes him a good weapon for Gunderson to utilize.
Less than 7 to go in the half. 3rd and 9 for Gunderson. What will they pull out of their hat now? Or can the lead defense rise to the occasion? Melcher wide open, room to run, 1st down yardage and more. Looks like someone missed their defensive assignment.
I think so. And a nice call there by Gunderson to call the draw play. Usually on a 3rd down, you would want to step back and play the pass a little bit. And dropping Packer back like he is going to throw and then giving it to Melcher. Those draw plays usually, if you catch the lead defense on maybe a run blitz, catch the defensive line going upfield, opens up the lanes, and Melcher just had plenty of room to run and gains another 1st down.
I knew they had something in their bag of tricks. 1st and 10 from the 40. Why not give it to Melcher? Melcher, the same play and the same result. Nope, he dropped the ball. Melcher is down. Leigh has possession, and a tough break for Gunderson as Leigh celebrates.
Oh, and as Melcher stayed down, I wasn't too sure if it was because he got hurt, which thankfully doesn't look like, or maybe just a tad bit of frustration. But again, another turnover here, and Leigh gets gifted with another possession. I mean, Melcher, tough runner. Sometimes you just got to know when to go down.
Leigh takes over. 1st and 10 from the Gunderson 48. 6:15 left to go in the half. Leigh trailing 14-10. Davis throwing on the first play. Pressure is coming, being chased from behind. Gets it off to Donald. What another magical play. Just when you thought they're going down, they pop back up again.
That's what you need to have when you're a quarterback. You need to have that little internal clock where at a certain point, around 3 seconds, maybe 4 seconds, you have to think something's about to break down. To sense the blindside pressure, that's a rare ability. And for Davis to be able to do that, and as he's going down, just flip it out to Donald and just let him make something happen. Very nice play. I mean, Davis has put out one highlight reel play after another.
Well said. 1st and 10 from the Gunderson 32, and it looked like there was movement on the line.
Looks like we'll have a false start on Leigh, so a fairly mistake-free game so far, really on both sides of the ball.
Now, don't jinx it, Philip.
Only an observation based on up to this point.
That's exactly true. We had the PI penalties, and this is the 2nd false start of the ball game. But yes, a relatively clean game here in the 4th game, the 4th outing for these teams this season. 1st and 15 for Leigh. Davis with Donald alongside him on his right hip. Problem with the snap. Davis picks it up and again makes at least something, a little bit of something out of nothing. And not too much damage done.
But I'm noticing a little bit of a troubling trend here with this Gunderson defense. They're having a tackling problem. And you notice how many defenders Davis shook off there just on that scramble? I counted at least 4. Eventually, that might come back to bite him on a big play. It already has done that a couple of times. They need to just wrap up the ball carrier and just drive him down.
2nd and 12 for Leigh. Davis. Route across the middle, caught by Galvin, who drops the ball and bounces along. They're going to say that's an incomplete pass. Marcos Milazzo, the intended receiver. Milazzo, frustrated.
And I would be too. It looked like he started to try to run towards the end zone before really securing the ball. And that's a really common thing no matter what level of football. Anytime you get a big play potential, sometimes you start running without the ball, and you won't go very far without it.
And well-thrown ball by Davis. Absolutely. Brings up 3rd and 12. Galvin lines up on the near side. Davis goes right back, and Gunderson's Packer knocks the ball away. That's a big-time play.
Oh, it was a disaster-averting drop by Dejon Packer, and I only say that because had he picked that off, that was 6 points the other way. And that would have been just an absolutely devastating turnover for this Leigh offense, who have strung together a lot of good plays tonight. And I think it was a product of Davis being fixated on his primary read a little too long.
Edifaa into punt. He's going to look to send this sky high, and that is going to be a touchback for sure. 5:12 left to go in the first half. Gunderson will go to work from their own 20, and with the way they've been returning the ball, perhaps that's not such a bad thing.
No, absolutely not. I mean, like we said, both special teams units have been very, very impressive so far. But Gunderson's going to have a little bit of work to do. They've got 80 yards to go in about 5:12, but if you're Coach Steve Pappen, this is the kind of situation you like, because you have that perfect running style. It'll milk the clock down and doesn't leave Leigh very much chance for a response before halftime.
Both coaches put so much emphasis on this league opener, saying comments like, this will determine whether we get into the playoffs or not. And it seems like their teams are rising to the occasion. We've seen some mistakes, but we've seen some well-played football as well. Little there for the first run of this possession.
There you see the Leigh defense making something happen there, disrupting the line of scrimmage, and they realize what Gunderson's going to do. They're not going to come at you with a lot of fancy plays. They're going to play some smash mouth football, hit you right in the mouth, and just see if you can dominate the line of scrimmage. And really on both sides, the offenses have really been impressive so far. But if the Leigh defense can tighten up like that, it's really going to cause a lot of problems for Gunderson, because the running game is really what they rely on.
2nd and 10. And again, Leigh's defense swarming. Cash Ward, that's a great football name.
It's a tailor-made football name. and of course he cashed in on the sack, if I may be so liberal with the pun.
Yes, please. And we've got a player down, so while there's an official timeout on the field, Philip?
My pleasure, Kirsten. PlayOn Sports is on Facebook and Twitter, giving you news and information and links to great highlights. Follow us at PlayOn Sports on both Facebook and Twitter. You can also access thousands of live and on-demand games on YouTube at youtube.com/PlayOnNetwork. Keep up with all the high school action every week from your destination for high school sports, PlayOnSports.com.
Alongside Philip Kern and with our crew, Brad Youngblood and Nico Chastain, I'm Kirsten Fairchills. We're at the Bowl, as it is referred to. No official name for this field or stadium, but they like to call it the Bowl, as Gunderson player is limping off, but on his own volition, and we'll go back to work. 4:12 left to go in the first half. Gunderson with the ball, trailing 14-10 to Leigh.
Right now, if you're Gunderson, you're going to have to get a little creative here because now what Leigh can do is play it like a standard passing down.
And Gunderson's going to need to get a little more creative, so they're going to call a timeout to talk it over. Timeout on the field, 4:12 left to go. Gunderson up 14-10. Philip, it's this game to me has felt like Leigh's game. Yet here they trail.
No, it really has, and really you can attribute it to the big play factor. And Gunderson has had more big plays than Leigh, because when you notice how the flow of the game has gone, I mean, Gabe Davis, for all intents and purposes, has really been able to do what he wants. And that's something Gunderson's going to have to figure out because they've taken advantage of Gunderson's inability to tackle on the first hit. Now, what do I mean by that? We've seen plenty of instances where Leigh ball carriers have shooken off at least 3-4 Gunderson defenders. If you're Coach Steve Pappen going into halftime, that's something you've got to address because that tackling problem is not going to get any better once the physical fatigue starts to set in. It's really going to become a mental battle to make sure that you maintain the right form of tackling to make sure that they don't get very far after you hit them.
Good point. 3rd and 15 out of the timeout. And Gunderson out of the shotgun. Gunderson, short pass by Packer, and it falls on the ground, and the receiver, I think he was waiting for the whistle of the blow. The ball just laying there, and finally incomplete pass is shown. 4th and long. Not exactly the play you want to have executed as you come out of the timeout.
No, not at all. And I don't blame for both sides for having a little confusion. It looks like it was a late incomplete signal. Didn't even hear a whistle at that point. So a little bit of confusion as the Leigh defenders were going towards the ball. My first instinct was it was a throw behind the line of scrimmage, so it really could have been easily called a fumble.
Gunderson punter in the end zone. 4:04 left to go as Leigh with the return man at the Gunderson 48. 2 return men as they move up. And the ball fielded, and it's dropped. And it looks as if Gunderson recovers. Our officiating crew is going to talk this over. If Leigh indeed touched the ball,
and it looks like Leigh possession after all that was sorted out. I'm a little confused here.
I'm confused as well. But Leigh again goes to work with great field position. 3:57 left to go in the half. Leigh trailing 14-10. It looked as if I did not see any fair catch signal. That punt was very quick. There wasn't a lot of hang time. And the return man came up. Looked like he had touched the ball. It went through his hands. But obviously a better view on the field. Davis goes to work right away, and it's an incomplete pass as Galvin, the intended receiver, short throw by Davis.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a low throw there. I mean, and we've been talking about Galvin already. He's been a big part of the offense. The only unfortunate thing about being such a tall target on low throws, that doesn't exactly work so well. So Davis got to make sure they can put it right in the hands of Galvin because being a tall target has a lot of advantages. The low throws, not exactly one of them.
2nd and 10 for the Longhorns. Leigh with all of its timeouts. Gunderson with 2 remaining. Davis looking to throw. And on the outplay, ball is caught. So 1st down for the Longhorns as Tommy Druhan with the catch.
And that's a better throw by quarterback Gabe Davis. And Tommy Druhan, smart enough to go out of bounds. That way Leigh doesn't have to use a timeout. But really, time's on their side right now. 3:45. He really could have stayed in bounds and let the clock run down a little bit. But, you know, players' instinct sometimes getting towards the half, you step out of bounds. It happens.
1st and 10 from the 22. Davis on the option. Donald is off to the races around the right side, going toward the end zone. Stopped short, but another big run by Donald. We've seen a lot of pure speed out on the field tonight.
And that was a very well executed option pitch play. Davis as the ball carrier, letting the defenders come up towards him, and Donald out there right off to his side. The nice little pitch, and Donald just used the speed. Comes up a little short, but they do get a first and goal to go. And this is a perfect situation for the Longhorn offense.
First and goal from the 3 for Leigh, a chance to reclaim the lead. Davis out of the shotgun, Donald on his left hip. Donald cuts back inside, waiting for the official signal. Still waiting. Touchdown. From 3 yards out, Donald gives the Longhorns back the lead.
And a nice efficient drive there by the Longhorns. Of course, with 3:20 left to go, it does give Gunderson one more chance to respond before halftime, but a absolutely well-orchestrated drive there by Leigh. Not too much in the way of miscues. Of course, the big play, the key one that really kept it alive was the pass from Davis to Druhan. That does not happen. Leigh may have been forced to settle for a field goal.
Leichman in for the point after. He looks like he's got plenty of leg. 3:20 left to go in the ball game. Leigh 17, Gunderson 14.
Of course, we saw the leg there by Michael Leichman, and he's really been impressive. He's really been impressive tonight. But what I was really impressed by, at least on that last drive for the Longhorns, it seemed like they're utilizing a lot of their weapons here. They're not keen on just one particular ball carrier. I mean, we've seen a lot of Levon Donald. We've seen a lot of Tommy Druin. We've seen a lot of Brian Galvin, but it's a matter of them mixing it up. They're mixing up the play calling a little bit.
And a lot of Gabe Davis, too. He's
Absolutely.
called his own number quite a bit.
Absolutely. So utilizing all that, just using all the weapons at your disposal, has been very key for this Longhorn offense.
Edifa to kick off. And the return by Packer. Packer running east to west, running south, needs to turn around and run north. He does. And a lot of running for the ball to be spotted at the 30.
Looked to be about a 20-some-odd yard run, but I think if you mix up all the back and forth going east to west, felt like more about a 40-yard dash. But really not bad field position given all the back and forth for Gunderson.
We're ones to talk, right? Gunderson able to
Sure.
break one earlier. 3:06 left to go in the half. Gunderson trailing 17-14. Turn the ball over. They've had some hiccups on offense. See what Donald and company can do with this possession. And another straight ahead run. It looks like the ball's down on the ground again. And we'll stay with Gunderson. Coach Pappen and his coaching staff having fits over there, I'm sure.
I think Melchor might be having some fits of his own, especially when you're having troubles holding on to the ball. He's already had one fumble that's gone for a turnover, and it looks like, based on what we saw on the field, it may have been a second fumble. I mean, I like the fact that they kept giving him the ball, trying to get his confidence back. But when you start having issues with ball security, could be a problem.
2nd and 5, and Donald with the keeper, and a host of Longhorns as the whistles blow. And the scrum finally adheres to the whistle. Pickup of 2 after the forward progress.
Really, the Longhorn defense not giving Packer a lot of room to operate in right now. And you can still see, even with him lining up as a quarterback, again, this offense really the quarterback is just another avenue to run the ball for Gunderson. I've counted maybe 2 pass attempts this first half. So really, I don't know how deep Gunderson's passing offense is, but they may have to start digging towards the deeper recesses of the playbook a little bit just to give Leigh some different looks.
3rd and 3, 90 seconds remaining in the half. And the inside run, first down, as Negron, the fullback, moves the chains. 1:21 left. Again, Gunderson with 2 timeouts. Leigh with all 3 remaining.
Really just some tough inside running by Negron. I mean, we haven't called his number a whole lot tonight, but you see why he's such a valuable part of this Grizzly offense.
Yes, Negron. And then Melcher. Negron with the run. Negron again, a big gain. I think they may mark him short of the first down. 56 seconds and counting. 2nd and 1. Now 45 seconds remaining.
Well, Gunderson doesn't need to panic, though. They're in the right situation where they need to be.
35 seconds and counting. And nothing doing as Packer fakes the handoff to Negron. And 29 seconds remaining. And Gunderson calls a timeout after the loss on the play.
Dalton Nold right there. A very, very heads-up play to not go for the fake handoff and instead kept his eyes on Packer to get the stop behind the line of scrimmage. And really puts Gunderson in a bind because with the way this offense has been operating so far, 3rd and long is not exactly an enviable situation for them. So I think this timeout is really a good time for them. We need to start figuring out, okay, we need to start mixing up our 3rd down approaches because when it gets to 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, that's when the front 7 for Leigh can just pin their ears back. They can have the secondary just do what they want, have the front 7 just rush the passer, and it just really throws a wrench in their game plan.
That is so true, but Gunderson also, they've pulled some rabbits out of the hat on 3rd down.
Oh, they absolutely have. And just one of their touchdown runs by Packer, the 64-yarder that we talked about. I mean, they do have the trickery up their sleeve. So, but it's only a question of how much do you actually show because this is only the first league game.
It's 3rd and 6 from their own 47. 29 seconds remaining in the half. Gunderson trailing 17-14. 2 receivers split right, 1 left. As Packer looking to throw. Packer launches one into traffic and knocked away. In fact, Cosentino in on coverage and whistles blow. Clock still running. And I think we're going to have a clock reset.
You know, sometimes there are just some throws that when it leaves the quarterback's hand, you just think this can't end well. That was just one of those. I mean, it's not really Packers' fault, but unfortunately, when your intended receiver is surrounded by multiple lead defenders, you can only think, okay, only a miracle is going to keep us on this possession. And Cosentino with a nice bat down to at least get Leigh 1 more possession before halftime.
19 seconds put back on the clock. 4th and 6 as the punt team out for Gunderson. Carrasco and Druin back deep for Leigh. Merritt gets away a decent punt, and it takes a somewhat friendly Gunderson bounce. As 7.9 seconds remaining in the first half. Leigh Longhorns up 17-14. And it'll be 1st and 10 from their own 22.
And with that much time left, that much field to go.
You take a knee?
I would. Because
I would too.
Yeah, I mean, you're in the exact perfect situation here. Your defense is starting to play a lot better. And really no much of a chance to chance it, but looks like they may let Davis let it rip.
That's right. Davis still out of the shotgun. 3 receivers out left, and the handoff to Donald. And Donald just a pickup of 2. And the clock winds down. An entertaining first half for sure. Philip, your thoughts on the first half? Leigh heads into the locker room with a slim 17-14 lead.
I can sum it up in 2 words: big play. That's been the theme of this whole first half, whether it was Packer with his legs or even just the special teams contributing tonight. Big play has been the theme of the first half so far. And Gunderson, to their credit, has had more of the big plays in their favor, but Leigh has had control of this game, and it's reflective in the scoreboard right now.
It's a rivalry in San Jose. Leigh 17, Gunderson 14. Back with the PlayOnSports.com halftime show. Don't you dare go away. It's Friday Night Football on PlayOnSports.com, your destination for high school sports. Time show coming to you from Leigh High School in San Jose, California. I'm Kirsten Fairchilds alongside Philip Kern. Our score at the half, Leigh 17, Gunderson 14. Philip, we enjoyed the lead Longhorn marching band, as I hope our viewers and listeners did as well at the half. Put on an entertaining show, and as our teams are warming up once again, this one was billed as going to be a competitive game, and it certainly has lived up to the hype.
No, it absolutely has, because we've seen big play was the theme, as we talked about before we went into halftime. And I know we were talking about DeJohn Packer, and with good reason. I mean, he had one of the big plays of the night in the first half, 64-yard touchdown run. But really, the only reason this game is close is because of Tayshawn Clark. His 95-yard kick return just turned everything on its head, because we had seen some good special teams plays before. But once that took place, it almost seemed to wake up Leigh in a sense, just because the special teams have been kind of going back and forth, nice plays on both ends. But ever since that time, the Longhorns defense has just shut them all down. And that's been a really big key.
Although Brian Galvin has been the favorite target of Leigh quarterback Kyle Padilla, it was Alex Smith who caught the 31-yard pass for the first score of the ball game. That came at 9:36. The extra point was good, and Leigh got on the scoreboard 7-0.
No, and it was a really sort of a broken play, if you really think about it, because the snap was essentially a ground ball to Davis, and he had to really roll out to his non-throwing side. And for any quarterback who's right-handed, they'll be able to tell you to roll out to your left to make a throw. Not exactly the easiest thing in the world, but there was Alex Smith there by the goal line on a busted coverage, and he was sitting there waiting for the ball. And it was absolutely perfect throw for Gabe Davis.
Great composure by Davis, and then Donald showing he had some skills of his own. A 64-yard run where it looked like there was nowhere to run. He also looked like he would be run down by 3 Longhorns from behind, but had that extra burst, and at 4:36, he scored. However, they went for 2. They've had problems with point after attempts, and that 2-point conversion failed.
Yeah, it did, but it really doesn't take away from how good that run was, and really put Gunderson back into everything, and really showcased early what the Grizzlies were going to have to do in order to keep pace with Leigh. And from that point on, it seemed as though ever since then, Leigh's defense has not allowed a single offensive point, which really says something for how they've adjusted on defense.
23 seconds left in the first quarter. Michael Leichman hit a 28-yard field goal to give Leigh a 10-6 lead. And then, as you mentioned, in the second quarter, Gunderson's big run, the 95-yard return by Clark. And then the 2-point conversion was converted by Donald, and that gave Gunderson a 14-10 lead. But then with 3:20 left to go in the first half, it was a 3-yard run by Donald. Packer previously on the second 2-point conversion, and then Donald with a 3-yard run, 17-14. So back and forth we have gone.
No, it's been a pinball type of game. I know we talked about that in the first quarter, and it seemed like the pace slowed a little bit in the second quarter, but I think it was really more of a testament of how Leigh's defense really took hold. They made the proper adjustments and really went after what Gunderson was going to do on offense. So that was really a big key for them. Some nice adjustments there by the Longhorns. So we'll see how this chess match goes, what kind of adjustments Gunderson's going to make.
That's going to do it for the PlayOnSports.com halftime show. Friday Night Football will return in just a few minutes. Well, the start of the second half next on your destination for high school sports, PlayOnSports.com.
One match away from immortality.
This is a total team effort.
We can wait until Gunderson. Back at the Bowl on the campus of Leigh High School in San Jose, California. Kirsten Fairchilds, Philip Kern on PlayOnSports.com. Second half underway off the kick by Leigh. Gunderson threw his hands, and it will be a touchback, and that was a bullet delivered by Leigh. Gunderson will go to work at their own 20. Philip, what do the Grizzlies need to do better in the second half besides hold on to the ball?
Well, they need to tackle better. That was a big problem I saw through the first half, and that's really a lot of the source of Leigh's big plays. I mean, Leigh's offensive line deserves a lot of credit because they were creating a lot of lanes for the running backs to run through. But something I kept noticing, Gunderson's tackling was just not up to par because a lot of those runs were the result of the lead ball carriers shaking off 3-4 tacklers at a time. So if they get that rectified, they'll put themselves right back in this.
1st and 10 for Gunderson from their own 20. Packer calls his own number. Runs into one of a teammate, scrambling spin move, and a 7-yard gain on the carry.
Nice balance there by Packer just to try to avoid all the defenders trying to go at his legs just to try to stop him. But really more of a designed QB draw. Drop back like you're going to pass and then just go up the middle. So nice healthy gain there. And the 2nd and shorts, this is what Gunderson wants.
Gunderson beat Lynbrook to open the season 33-13. Then lost to Pioneer the next week 27-6. Beat Overfelt last week 43-0. A lot of offensive production from the Grizzlies, and we may have encroachment on the defense.
Look like the Longhorn defense, even like we talked about, being so impressive after giving up that 64-yard run to Packer, really tightening everything up. And now they get their first penalty here of the second half and gives Gunderson with another first down.
So I believe the Longhorns were blitzing and got off on the ball too soon. So first down for Gunderson on the penalty. Talk about how reliant Gunderson is on the rushing game. They average 146 yards rushing per game and 7 yards passing.
7?
Yes.
Wow. Now, I know high school football, a lot of the teams run a very run-heavy offense, but that's very run-heavy.
It's very run-heavy. 1st and 10 from their own 34, out of the I formation. Packer looking to throw. He could use 7 yards. Pressure coming. Good pickup by the O-lineman, and Packer is off to the races and pushed out of bounds in Leigh territory. He can't get that ball out of his hand whether he wants to or not.
No, but I think in this case, I don't think he minds it being in his hand in this case. But what I'm noticing here, and you can tell quarterback's a little bit of a new position for DeJean Packer because he doesn't really look all that comfortable doing the traditional dropbacks. And it's almost as if he's not really looking to pass, but when he starts to sense pressure, he wants to tuck the ball down and run. So he's still a running back by nature. So having that sort of mental shift to focus to a new position, it's going to take some time.
Packer had 6 carries for 174 yards against Overfelt. That is a productive and efficient game. As the handoff to Negron, the fullback, maybe pickup of half a yard or so.
You're going back to Packer's day against Overfelt last week. I mean, talking about getting bang for your buck. I mean, that's nearly 30 yards a carry if you want to average it out that way. I mean, that's just a testament to how dynamic of a player he is.
Leigh, conversely, averages 142 yards per game passing and 163 yards on the ground. So very balanced offense, the spread offense by Leigh. 2nd and 10. 2 minutes gone here in the 3rd quarter. Gunderson trailing 17-14. Packer on the move. Evading tacklers, trying to get past that last defender before reaching that next level. I believe that's good enough for a first down, however.
And they are going to move the chains for another first down. And I think at this point, I think it's safe to say Packer has broken the 100-yard barrier for this evening's game, and we're only early into the 3rd quarter. But he's been making a lot of things happen, especially on this opening drive, really setting the tone for the Grizzlies offense.
And Melcher, who had the fumble early on, has not had a carry. He is the man dotting the I, if you will, behind Packer and Negron. And Negron with a straight ahead run, the dive play. Steve Pappin has been going to that often.
Oh, he has, and really didn't start calling Negron's number until the latter half of the second quarter, which is really kind of surprising. But for such a small guy, and Negron, 5'7", 170 pounds, runs with a lot of power. I mean, he really carries a lot into that small frame of his. And you would think for a small runner, he would avoid contact, be a little bit tentative of it. Not this guy. Heart of a lion.
2nd and 1 at the Leigh 29. And Negron again. And that'll be a first down.
This is the perfect type of drive that Gunderson wants. Just a way to keep the Longhorns offense off the field. That way they don't gain any sort of momentum from staying on there. And the perfect part is it's running down the clock. This is exactly what can happen when your running game is working for you, especially this type of offense.
An excellent drive thus far. And Melcher. Melcher trying to get around the corner. Leigh bringing the heat, and that's a loss on the play.
And Melcher's not exactly an easy guy to bring down. We've seen him shake off multiple tacklers seemingly every carry he's had. But it seems like Leigh has really adjusted. They've really started to adjust because they haven't really had as much of a tackling problem as Gunderson, but they've had their own issues as well. So it looks like they are finally starting to tighten that up a little bit and really putting some stalls into Gunderson's drives. But this one, the Grizzlies have had their way.
And official timeout on the field as our referee comes over to talk to the Leigh coach. And Gunderson breaks the huddle, but our referee, I believe, is going to ask for a Leigh substitution. Perhaps a player has an equipment issue or blood or something. Nevertheless, that will bring off Tavery Carrasco as Galvin replaces him on defense. 7:54 left to go in the third. It's 2nd and 8 for Gunderson.
And I'm seeing Carrasco talking to one of the coaches, raising his hands in confusion. Even he's not sure why he's being pulled.
Packer rolling out. Evades one tackler. He is slippery, still on his feet. Has as many lives as a cat.
Nine lives. How many do you think he used on that scramble?
3. He used 3.
Oh, boy.
Well, maybe 2.
Okay, so he's got about 7 lives left and about a quarter and a half to go.
He's already cashed out, if you will. He is slippery. What a great runner, a true scrambler. Yet after all that, 3rd and 6 for the Grizzlies. Packer again under center. And run down. Great defensive penetration by Leigh's number 62, Christian Tran, whose nickname is Sumo.
And utilize that nickname to its fullest extent right there and dragging down Dejon Packer. Really keeping a heads up because it looked as if it was going to be a fake handoff and then a designed rollout. No, Sumo was not going to be fooled. Sumo does not get fooled on plays like that.
It's 4th and 9. We have not seen a single point after or field goal attempt from Gunderson. And I think they're going to call a timeout to talk over what they plan to do. The ball is spotted at the 25. 4th and 9 for Gunderson. 6:17 remaining in the third. They trail 17-14.
PlayOnSports.com is not only your destination for Friday night football action, but it's also the place for the most comprehensive coverage of high school playoff and championships events in all sports from across the country. PlayOnSports.com. High school sports lives here.
CCS Sophomore of the Year 2 years ago. Well, that was Nick Melcher, who is now a senior for Gunderson. This season he's had 40 carries for 251 yards on offense. He's had 14 tackles and 1 pick on defense. Trouble holding on to the ball tonight, but there's still a half a quarter left to play.
And with his running style, it really is a little bit easier to have some ball security issues, because when you're the runner that Melcher is, your mentality is keep the legs moving, try to fight for all those extra yards. The only problem with that is the longer you stay on your feet, the longer of a chance there is for Leigh to knock the ball out of your hands. He's had that happen a couple of times tonight. Thankfully, only one of them's been a turnover. But when Melcher's been like that his whole football playing career, I would guess, some habits are kind of hard to undo. Not necessarily a bad habit, but that's just how he is.
4th and 9, Gunderson offense on the field. They're going to go for it. Negron, first down and more. He's at the 10, the 5, untouched, touchdown. Gunderson, a 25-yard scamper on 4th and 9.
And what a big time play by Negron. Slippery again, as usual. It seems like, I'm not sure, maybe they put some hot melted butter on some of their uniforms at halftime. Maybe they had some back there in the locker room. I'm not sure. But Negron shedding all kinds of lead tacklers and puts Gunderson back ahead. A gutsy call there by Coach Pappen, and it pays off in spades.
They've gone for 2 all night, but I think the tee has been being thrown on Ulysses Merritt, the kicker. He's been kicking off and handling the punting out of the hold of Packer. Chance to make it a 4-point ball game penalty. And the extra point is wide. We'll check the penalty. So we've seen some good special team play. That's false start against Gunderson. 6:06 left to go. Gunderson with a 20-17 lead. That extra point may have been crucial.
And something else I've been noticing on the point after conversions for Gunderson, they've gone for 2 twice and gone 1 for 2. Then they missed the extra point. So really, you put that all together, that's 1 for 3 on point after conversions. This right here, they've left 3 points on the board. So really, when you look at it, if everything goes according to plan, it should be a 23-17 game. However, I'm wondering if those 3 points are not going to play a bigger role later on, because all Leigh needs is a field goal and the right back in it, and they have the leg to do it.
Absolutely. The best, I would say, perhaps you would agree, that the punting-kicking combination for Leigh, the best I've seen all season. Maybe some teams have one versus the other. In fact, Westmont, we were very impressed with their punter.
That's right.
But to have both, a luxury for high school football. Merritt kicks it off. And miscommunication, or a lack of communication between the return man, but Leigh averts disaster. Wow, as Dalton Nold fell on the ball. Those players need to talk to each other.
Well, Nold needs a pat on the helmet for the heads-up play, because that drop kick could have been major trouble had Gunderson gotten possession of that ball. So you see where that ball's marked there. It's at their 15-yard line. Just think if Gunderson got possession there, a fresh possession inside Leigh's red zone. He didn't even really have to work that much for it. Dangerous.
Davis goes to work at the 6:05 mark, and he throws on the first play, but his intended receiver does not turn around, and that was Donald.
Now that one, I'm not sure if there was a miscommunication there. Maybe Davis, feeling the pressure, had to get rid of the ball a little quicker than he'd like. But it looked as if Donald had not quite completed his route. It looked like, his back was still to Davis when the throw was released. So there's no way he could have really seen what was going on.
2nd and 10 for the Longhorns. Leigh has lost in the CCS championship game 3 times. They are 0-for-3 for CCS titles, as Davis throws now to the right side and looks a little off his game here in the 3rd quarter.
There you see Isaiah Ma, number 4, on the coverage there for Gunderson, sort of jumping up and down, thinking, man, he could have had an interception opportunity. But again, another dangerous throw by Davis. We've seen him make about 3 of those already. Throws into double coverage, and you start to take a major risk, especially when the primary read, and we've seen him do that. Fixate on his primary read, not look around for his 2nd and 3rd options. That nearly cost him there, too.
3rd and 10. Split twin receivers. Davis throwing again. Pump fake, going downtown, wide open. The catch made before he tumbles out of bounds, and Tommy Druhan comes through with a big-time catch.
Here's something else I'm impressed with. Druhan with the presence of mind to know where he's at on the field. Treated that sideline throw like he was an NFL receiver. Kept both feet in bounds. Gave Davis a chance to put it right there where he could get it. And some nice footwork there by Tommy Druhan.
5:45 and counting in the 3rd quarter. Leigh now playing from behind, 20-17. They trail. 1st and 10 from their own 44. Donald with his first carry. And wrapped up, still on his feet, but finally brought down as Gunderson's Morgan Gooding in on the tackle.
And you notice there it took a gang of tacklers on the Grizzlies defense to bring down Donald. I mean, we've been raving about his speed, and with very good reason we should. But he's got a lot of power in those legs. And I think Gunderson took notes at halftime saying, look, those one-on-one tackling ain't going to work. We're going to have to employ the gang tackle philosophy in the second half. And there you see it worked.
Gunderson came into this game with 2 players with at least 19 solo tackles on the season. And you see the pitch to Donald, and he picks it up again. And now the ball back on the ground. As the pile untangles itself. And our referee calling an official timeout. And winds the clock. Leigh ball. 3rd and 6.
I'm a little confused as you are too.
No sort of signal on those plays as Cosentino with a pitch on the left side, and he's close to a 1st down.
I think he may have gotten it right there, but some nice effort there by Cosentino. Of course, they pulled Levon Donald off the field to give him a breather, but Cosentino just welcoming the contact, just seeing his helmet just kind of make the shake sound as he was going up against the Gunderson defender. Just a fearless dude. Really
He's been a nice spark when he's come off the sideline on offense. And Leigh into Gunderson territory. 1st and 10 from the Grizzlies' 46. Davis with Cosentino in the backfield, throws it behind him, and again, that play just not working.
Seems like there's been a few miscues mentally this drive already. I mean, we've seen the option pitch. Donald fumbled that a little bit, and there you see, and of course he's on the sideline right now. He's about to head back in, it looks like. And then, of course, the screen pass right there, that's the only risk you run there. If the pass is not on point, that's a behind the scrimmage throw. So really, that could be considered a fumble. And if Cosentino does not have his wits about him, that could be a turnover right there for Gunderson.
3 minutes left to go in the 3rd. Now 2nd and 15 for Leigh. Davis looks to throw. And heads in the direction of Druhan. Underthrown.
It looks like he led Druhan a little too much there. I mean, Druhan's got some good speed on the outside, but even that he couldn't catch up to. So Davis had the right idea, just led him a little too much. Now you got a 3rd and long. I'm going to be curious to see how they game plan this one.
And Negron in on the coverage. And Davis being attended to by 2 of our officials. And just quickly,
looks like a helmet issue there for Gabe Davis.
It does look like a helmet issue. And just like that, he's got another one. So I was about to say that the only timeout was an official timeout, and our referee winds the clock as Davis returns with a new hat. 3rd and 15 is what he faces. Cosentino on his left hip. Davis On the out pass, Druhan makes a great catch. Druhan, what a nice contribution he's made here in the third quarter for his Leigh Longhorns.
And where Druhan was, that had to be an absolutely perfect throw. If it's too low, too much of a risk of an interception. If it's too high, no one's going to be able to get it. Just the right amount of touch on that throw by Gabe Davis. Very professional-looking throw, dare I say.
Another opportunity for Davis and Druhan to hook up on a 3rd and long play. 2 minutes left to go in the third. Leigh on the move. Davis. And that was a very dangerous play. Went through the hands of Donald. Looked like it maybe had a little too much zip on it.
A little bit. And sometimes when you sense pressure coming, it will make you maybe get rid of the ball a little faster than you like. Maybe throw it a little harder than you like. Didn't really see a lot of pressure that time. And the throw was into a crowd, which once it gets deflected, it's anybody's ball. Anybody's guess where it's going to go. So Leigh's had some very fortuitous bounces so far.
Exactly right. Well, they are on their home field, about 5 years old. Again, Leigh celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. The school opened in 1962. Less than 2 to go. Davis looking to throw another quick strike. And that is an incomplete pass as Galvin couldn't hold on to it.
It's a really tough throw to hold on to, too. I mean, it's the second time he's been a little bit underthrown. I mean, Galvin's got good hands, so if he came up with it, it wouldn't have been too much of a surprise, but I can't be too surprised either that he dropped it just because it was such a low throw.
Another 3rd and long situation for Gabe Davis. Moves Donald closer to him, switches him to the other side. Davis, pump fake, pressure coming, scrambling, and room to run for Davis, however, short of a 4th down. I like his vision, Phillip. He doesn't necessarily always make the perfect decision every time when he's rushed, but at least he has the presence of mind to scope out the field.
No, absolutely. As long as he kept them going forward, that was the key thing. And I like what they were trying to do. 4 wides to try to spread the defense out, and in a way, that was a benefit because it created some lanes for Davis to run in. But now, short of the 1st down marker, the ever so reliable kicker now on the field.
Leitchman for a 48-yard attempt. He had a 47-yarder last week. Here comes the block kick, and again, it's another line drive, and too low, as you said earlier. He has the leg, and Gunderson was very close to blocking that kick as they take over on downs.
The same type of deal, not quite enough loft on it to give it a little extra carry there. But he does have the leg, so, I mean, distance is not really an issue for him. But I'd have to wonder, at some point, that kick will connect because you can see the leg power that he has. So it's just a matter of trying to get everything to work like he wants it to, and it'll finally go through the uprights. But that's the second time he's missed. And it was a fairly long kick, his second attempt at 40-plus yards.
Ball spotted at the 20 after the missed field goal attempt. And Gunderson takes over. 1:01 left to go in the third. They lead it 20-17. Real seesaw of a game, back and forth they go. As the sophomore quarterback, LaJean Packer, goes to work. Melcher trying to get around the left side. He does, and out of bounds in front of his teammates.
A big 1st down there for Gunderson. And I like what they're doing as far as Melcher goes. I mean, I know he's fumbled twice tonight, one of them resulting in a turnover, but they're keeping feeding him. They want to assure him that they still have confidence in him to run the ball to keep this Gunderson offense moving. And very wise call by Coach Pappen. I think it's a very, very good vote of confidence there for his running back, Nick Melcher.
Melcher on his 2nd carry. 4 or 5 yards.
And something else I've been noticing with Melcher tonight, fullback size as far as high school football goes, very quick feet, very, very shifty, and then you don't see that a whole lot from fullbacks like him.
Yes, it was interesting. I reconferred with head coach Steve Paffin before the game, and he said, Negron's my fullback, Melcher's my running back. Well, coach, that has not been the case tonight.
No, really hasn't. I mean, Melcher definitely running more like the fullback right now.
And looking like the fullback, too. If you go to Central Casting's fullback database, and Melcher showing he has room to run. Midfield, penalty marker comes in, and he's being chased down. The defender has the angle as Melcher somersaults in, but no one's celebrating on the Gunderson side. They think that's going to be called back for certain.
Very disappointing. There we have a hold on Gunderson, so Melcher's efforts go for naught, and I think the sideline said it all right there. They had a feeling that was going to be on that.
No one's celebrating whatsoever. That would have been a 63-yard run as Melcher now starts jogging.
At least he got his wind sprints in. That's a good thing.
And that wraps up the quarter. 2017, Gunderson with the ball and the lead. And the fourth quarter will continue right after we hear from my partner, Philip Kern.
Thank you, Kirsten. Folks, stay tuned for the PlayOnSports.com postgame show, where we will select our player of the game, as well as wrap up all the action from this ballgame. That's coming up following the game on your destination for high school sports, PlayOnSports.com.
Our player of the game will come from the winning team. Boy, Philip, we better start putting our thinking caps on. I mean, we still have 12 minutes left to play. This game could go into OT, and it will be played to a conclusion. We're gonna have to spend some time conferring about that, I think.
Oh no, I've been thinking about it for the last few minutes, and there's so many people to choose from. But
exactly.
But here's the wrinkle, though. It's because the game's so close.
Yes.
So you really have to kind of prepare for both sides. Which one? I mean, I've got some ideas as to possibilities for player of the game, but if this fourth quarter is going to be any indication, we're going to be talking about it right up to the buzzer. So we're going to have quite a few moments that are going to determine that.
The ball should be spotted at the 37 as we get ready to start the fourth quarter. 2nd and 5 for Gunderson, and the ball spotted at the 35. Remember, there was a penalty as the handoff to Negron. Bring up 3rd and 5 or 4.
This really is going to be a key stop here for Leigh. I mean, we've been talking about how they've resolved a lot of their tackling issues. At least they didn't have as much of an issue with it as Gunderson did in the first half. But I got to tell you something here. This 3-4 defense, it looks like they've been a little dominated up front here in the second half. I mean, some of the adjustments that Gunderson made, just that opening drive, if that was any indication. I mean, Gunderson, it's been an exchange of adjustments here.
3rd and 3. Negron, first down yardage, and brought down by Tavery Carrasco. First down, Gunderson.
And Negron again slipping right through some of the lead tacklers. I think you're starting to see some of the physical fatigue sit in. It's really been happening on both sides because the tackling has just not been sound, at least for both defensive units. But you're really seeing it, especially with the Gunderson run game. It seems like every carry, there's at least 2 defenders are shaken off.
A hard-fought ball game it has been for sure. 1st and 10 for Gunderson from their own 48, up 20-17. Had a chance to make it a 2-scoring game. As Packer trying to get around the left side. A healthy pickup by the sophomore.
I know Packer was kind of forced out of bounds on that run, and it was a nice gain of yards, at least about 6. But if you're Gunderson, you'd want to keep the ball in bounds as much as possible, and you've got the right offense to do it. This is the situation that they love. They're up by 3. It's now going into the fourth quarter. They've got the offense. They've got the scheme where they can keep it on the ground, keep it in bounds, and run the clock down, because the less time you leave on the clock, that's less time for Gabe Davis and this Leigh offense to do anything, because they are definitely more balanced.
2nd and 5 for the Grizzlies. Ball in Leigh's territory. It looked like one of the Grizzlies on the line just fell forward. A little too much momentum, and that'll back up the Grizzlies by 5.
A little too much eagerness to get off on their blocking assignments, I think.
They're playing with, obviously they're playing with the lead, but they're also playing with a little more confidence. I think, and composure too. I think, you know, sometimes teams come out of the locker room and they're so fired up for the second half. This team seems like it took a big collective breath and is better composed.
No, they absolutely are, and I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that at halftime they were still in this one. I mean, Leigh has a very potent offense, but Gunderson has held them in check, and they were still in it, and that's been a big key.
2nd and 10. And Packer running into trouble as Leigh brings the heat. Cash Ward in on the sack.
I believe that's the second one of this evening for him, and Cash Ward. There are just some names that just fit football. Cash Ward's one of them.
Exactly. I like your comment. Tailor made for football.
Absolutely.
No loss on the, oh yes, a big loss on the play, excuse me. Leigh Gunderson going the wrong direction indeed. 3rd and 17 after the sack.
Wrong direction at the wrong time.
They've had some unexpected 3rd down conversions, however, due to some improvisation by their sophomore quarterback. Let's see what Packer can do here. He's looking to throw. Nope, puts it on his hip, trying to get out of trouble. And it'll be 4th and long for the Grizzlies.
I'm not too sure what Packer was trying to reach for. It's not like he was near the first down marker at all. I mean, it was such a long 3rd down. I mean, 3rd and 17. But I'm not too sure what Packer was reaching for because he was nowhere near the first down mark. I don't know what he was trying to reach for the extra yard for. He does that. That would have been a prime opportunity for a Leigh defender to knock the ball out of his hand, and that changes the whole game.
Druhan and Carrasco. The punt return man for Leigh as Merritt. Fair catch is waived, and Gunderson will down it. Leigh trailing 20-17, 8:45 remaining in the ball game. Gabe Davis, who has been impressive, especially in the first half, Philip. It would be nice for the Leigh fans to see him to get back in sync.
Well, it would be the absolute perfect time for this Leigh offense to get their legs back under them because as impressive as they were in that first quarter, they've been a little flat here in the second half. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but that's what I've been seeing so far. Just nothing really is clicking like it did in the first half.
Davis sends the slot receiver in motion. Hand off to Donald. Donald trying to turn the corner and pushed out of bounds by Melcher.
Now you see a little, even just at the line of scrimmage, you're noticing some of the miscommunication a little bit. Tommy Druhan looking over at Gabe Davis, just sort of wondering what's going on. So you're seeing some of those, some of the out of sync tendencies really starting to show, even as they're lining up at the line. And if you're Coach Padilla, they can't be settling too well with you right now.
Coach Padilla, a Lehigh grad, also a quarterback at Northern Illinois University. His quarterback with the option pitch to Donald. Donald around the far sideline, room to run. He's at the 50, the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10. Levon Donald, touchdown Leigh. The Longhorns are back out in front.
How about a 76-yard scamper to respond there? I mean, my goodness, Levon Donald showing the speed that we have been touting all night long and just getting to the outside. They've been using that play a lot tonight. That's been their staple for him. And once he got to the outside, once he got past that second, third level defenders, forget it. He was absolutely gone, shifted into that second gear, and Leigh is back out in front.
Leichman in for the point after. Chance to make it a 4-point lead. Straight through, Leigh 24, Gunderson 20, 8:25 remaining in the Santa Teresa Division Blossom Valley Athletic League nail-biter.
And once again, the big play coming through for Leigh once again. I mean, it was such a big theme here in the first half. And the second half was a little bit calmer, if you will. But now the big play has come back. But what I'd be curious about here at this point, we've been talking about how the special teams has been a bit more of a pronounced role tonight. I mean, case in point, Tayshawn Clark with his 95-yard kick return. Don't sleep on him at this point. Yeah, Lee's got the lead back, and they've got a chance to really try to create some separation here. But their special teams needs to hold their gaps. They need to stay disciplined as far as their lanes, because if they allow Tayshawn Clark or any one of these Gunderson returners to create some magic here, it's going to be right back where they started.
Edifa to kick it off for Leigh. Up 24-20. Taken at the 5. At the 20, the 30, the 40. Runs into his own man and falls down at the 42. We've seen a lot of speed out on the field. We've seen the return men earn their keep, if you will.
Absolutely. Noah Evaristo getting involved in the return game and sort of redeeming himself for the opening kickoff in the second half, because as you remember, he bobbled that one and thankfully was so close to the goal line it didn't really matter. But giving Gunderson some nice field position, now with 8:15 left in this game, all bets are off right now.
1st and 10 for Gunderson from their own 36. Packer with the handoff, room to run. He's at the 40, it's Negron, the 30, the 20, the 10. Can you say big play machine? Gunderson can. Negron with the 64-yard run.
Once again, how does that song go? Anything you can do, I can do better. Philippe Negron, my goodness. It's as if he took that run by Donald a little personally, said, hey, hold on a second. There's more than one big playmaker in the house here. And just the whole back and forth. Does this remind you of the first quarter at all?
The spectators are getting their money's worth tonight, and we are so glad you are joining us for Friday Night Football on PlayOnSports.com. Interesting scenario for Gunderson, up 26-24. Their point after attempts have been non-existent or pitifully poor, so they are going for it. Nope. Yep. Who knows what they're doing? They are going for 2. What a chance they take as Packer under center. Packer gives it to Negron. He's not going to make it. It's a 2-point ball game.
And you know what? To be honest with you, I actually like that call this time of the game by Coach Pap. And I'll tell you why. Even though it didn't really go the way he wanted it, think about it this way. They make the extra point. It's only a field goal. It's only a field goal game. And Lee's got a good kicker. So I could see what Coach Pappen was trying to think. At that point, if they do make the 2-point conversion, you put them up by 4, it forces Leigh to go for the touchdown to try and pull ahead, because the field goal wasn't going to do it. Now, obviously, the 2-point conversion doesn't go anywhere, so now it's a whole different thing. But I could see what Coach Pappen was trying to do.
Well, Coach Pappen needs to put up some flyers at Gunderson High School, shaking every student to see if he can find a kicker to come out and at least for point after attempts, Philip.
Well, and what's funny about it is that they've only attempted 1 point after. And, I mean, yeah, the kick went wide left, but it wasn't as if it was a badly executed kick.
No, and it had the distance.
It did. So
and they were false start. They were off. They had the false start anyways. 8:05 to go. Gunderson kicking off with a 26-24 lead. As you mentioned, they have squandered potentially 4 points with the lack of conversions. Cosentino drops, picks it up. He was at the 10 and then just gets run over, just drilled by Eugene Dankwa.
Wait, I think everyone on the Leigh sideline and in the Leigh grandstands was holding their collective breath right there. As soon as Cosentino was mishandling the ball, everyone's kind of thinking, just pick it up, just go get it. And thankfully he does pick it up. I mean, but they've got about 85 yards or so to try to work with to go down the field. But it's really not a bad situation here. 8 minutes, you can carve off a lot of time if you play your cards right here.
And the keeper by Davis. Pickup of 3, and Gunderson player is down as Davis stops to pat him on the back. So we have an injured player on the field. I'm not sure if that's a cramp. He did seem to go down with no one in the vicinity, or those, pesky turf rats out there. 7:46 left to go. Gunderson 26-24. And Philip, while our injured player is being attended to, what do you have for us?
Well, Kirsten, do you want to watch more of your school's great matchups like the game you're enjoying here tonight? Tell your school to sign up for the PlayOn Sports School Broadcast Program. The program allows schools to broadcast all their games and other activities on the web. For more information, go to playonsports.com/SBP.
And please stay tuned for our post-game show where Philip and I will be charged with the task of picking a PlayOnSports.com player of the game from the winning team. The victory of this game in doubt at the moment.
Are you sure there's not an all-the-above option for player of the game tonight? I just want to be sure.
I don't think we can fit him in the press box here at Leigh. But we'd like to thank the AD, Mike Shalaba, for welcoming us here this evening. And the Leigh Longhorns, Gunderson Grizzlies know each other so very well. In fact, Philip, you and I had an opportunity to call their matchup last year where Leigh won 14-0. I think it would be safe to speak on your behalf and say this is a much better played game by both teams.
Oh, no question. I mean, you could even look at the scoreboard in comparison to the games last year. The difference was, I think, last year it was much more defensive-oriented, obviously. I mean, it came right down to the wire at the end. Nowhere did I see as many big plays at last year as I've seen in this one, and it's been from all sides. I mean, both offensives have contributed. The special teams has been huge because, I mean, think about it this way. You take away Gunderson's kick return for a touchdown, that changes everything. I mean, that just shows you how special teams, even though it's been overlooked, can play a vital part. And here's something else as far as special teams goes. We're looking at our scoring summary here. They've gone for 2. Gunderson has. They've gone for 2 3 times. Have only made 1.
Right.
So look at it this way. All that. So you've left at least 2, 4, and then the missed extra point. 5. That's 5 points left on the board right there. So you're looking at maybe a touchdown difference had those 2-point conversions actually gone their way.
Fortunately, this injury looking a little more serious with more personnel coming out on the field. We're unable to see the number of the Gunderson player. Do want to mention what a big second half by Philippe Negron. He had the 25-yard run back in the third quarter and then the 64-yard run. It's a great second half by Negron.
No, absolutely. Of course, he has also broken the 100-yard barrier as well. We've at least had a couple of different 100-yard runners tonight, of course. Levon Donald for Leigh and, like you mentioned, Philippe Negron for Gunderson. But here's what's impressed me about both teams. Their running attacks are more than one back. And when you're able to have that, you can at least keep fresh legs because you don't really have the one bell cow running back.
Isaiah Ma being helped off the field to a round of applause. We certainly wish him the best, a speedy recovery. Both teams had returned to the sidelines after the injury delay. 7:46 remaining in the ball game. Gunderson 26, Leigh 24. This is the divisional season opener. Santa Teresa Division, part of the Blossom Valley Athletic League here in Santa Clara County, California. There is a well-traveled road called Blossom Hill Road, and these two Schools don't even have to get on the freeway. They can drive 10 minutes and be at the other school. And again, we wish Ma the best as Leigh goes back to work. 2nd and 7 from their own 15. Fourth quarter action, Kirsten Fairchilds, Phillip Kern on PlayOn Sports. Davis with 3 receivers to the right, drops the ball. In fact, there was a problem with the hike, the snap. And it looks like Davis picks it up, but that came at a poor time.
Oh, no question. Just the timing of it's one thing to have mistakes happen in a game, but it's all about the timing of them at this point. You can play a fairly mistake-free game, but if you have a couple of them that just hit you at the wrong time, it changes everything. And right now, that's not the first time we've seen a bad snap to the quarterback. It just happened to be at a worse time than they would like.
No, the last time it was through his legs. He threw a 25-yard touchdown strike after picking it up. 3rd and long. Davis making things happen on the ground, eluding tacklers. And he is out to the 22. We will see where the spot is. And can you believe it? The magician, Gabe Davis, pulls a first down out of his bag of tricks.
That was a very, I don't know if I want to call it a generous spot, but it didn't seem like it was down there. I mean, I thought he was going to be close, maybe short by maybe a hair or so. But Gabe Davis, give him credit. He's been pulling tricks out of his bag tonight.
New life for Leigh as the clock continues to tick. Davis calls his own number once again, and 3 or 4 on the play. There was a streak, a stretch in the first quarter where I felt Gabe was calling his own number a little too often. You certainly appreciate the seniors' enthusiasm for trying to make things happen. I will wonder what we will see here on this next play call.
Well, it's one of those things, too. I was wondering how they were going to use him tonight when we were talking about it at the top of the broadcast. And I expected a little more of the drop back pass. I mean, I know he's a great athlete, but sometimes a quarterback wins the game with his arm, and that's what he's got to do right here. There's really no getting around it.
2nd and 8. Donald trying to turn the corner on the left side. Last time he did it was trouble, and he picks up the first down, rumbling across the 40.
That play has been working like a charm. Doesn't matter if they're running right or running left. LaVon Donald is making things happen, and it's at the right time because now they're keeping the ball in bounds. Yeah, they'll stop the clock to make a accommodation for the chain gang to move, but they're approaching this the right way because Gunderson does not have the type of offense where they can beat you through the air with big chunks. So the less time you leave for them, the better.
1st and 10 from the 39. Smith in motion. Handoff to Donald, this time turning the right corner. Runs into his own teammate and pushed out of bounds short of a first down.
Even though Donald got a good chunk of yards there, and it looks like he's a little slow to get up, which isn't what you'd want to see if you're Leigh.
This may, this is such a hard-fought game. This may come down to a battle of attrition. And yes, Donald writhing on the sideline. 4:56 left to go in the fourth quarter. Leigh on the move, but trailing at home 26-24.
Looked like he was holding his right leg as he was on the sideline, but hopefully he will recover in short amount of time. And on a different segue here, please make sure you stay tuned for the PlayOnSports.com postgame show, where we will select our player of the game as well as wrap up all the action from this ball game. That's coming up following the game on your destination for high school sports, PlayOnSports.com.
Thank you, Phillip. LaVon Donald, one of the captains on this squad. He's been getting letters about playing at the next level. He has a GPA of 3.5, and he is being attended to on the sideline at probably about 3 or 4 yards from the field, but our referee has elected to not continue with the next play until he can be moved, or at least make sure that he is okay. So Gunderson's team is going to head on over to their sideline. Leigh Huddle remains on the field, and it's been such a spectacular night for Levon Donald. You can only hope that once he's examined by the training staff, they'll be able to bounce right back up.
No, absolutely, and he's been such a strong catalyst for this offense. I mean, I know we were talking a lot about Gabe Davis before the game started, but Levon Donald showing how he was so valuable to this Longhorns offense. And I know in spot duty, Sean Cosentino has been great in terms of his occasional coming off the sideline and contributing in little spurts. But you'd have to wonder, I haven't seen him on the field for extended stretches of time. And now, if this Donald injury knocks him out for the rest of the game, how is Cosentino going to adjust to the increased workload? I mean, that's a question that Leigh is going to have to answer.
Well, and then maybe we see Davis take to the air a little more. He has such a nice receiving core, a lot of variety, versatility out there. A lot of options in the arsenal through the air. As Donald laying flat on his back and being attended to, and it's been such a well-fought game. It's been a little disappointing for sure that we've had these injuries on both sides of the field here in the fourth quarter. You hate to see that.
Oh, I absolutely do hate to see it, and it was actually something I was noticing last week. It was doing the game between Bram and Independence. Now, thankfully, none of those injuries were all that serious. It looked like they were more cramp related than anything, just based on what we were seeing. And it was a very similar night like tonight. A little bit unseasonably warm, so you expect those kind of cramps to happen. But thankfully, looks like Levon Donald is going to be okay as he's getting up and walking around, so that's a very good sign.
Yes, he's headed to the bench, so I'm sure his teammates are much relieved. However, he will not return on this play as Cosentino alongside Davis. Davis, play action, and through the hands of one defender and into the hands of Packer. Packer coming back. He's at the 40 and then run out of bounds. Just when you think you've figured out what's going to happen, someone makes a play, and Gunderson makes a play with 4:44 left to go in this ball game.
That turnover could not have come at a worse time. And the shocking thing about it is it comes off the arm of your biggest playmaker, Gabe Davis. And I think really what happened was, now that Donald was knocked out of the game, it allowed Gunderson to play back. It allowed them to anticipate the pass a little more.
1st and 10 for Gunderson at the Leigh 36. No lead has been safe tonight. The Grizzlies have a 2-point lead. Sophomore quarterback, Packer, puts it on his hip. Good blocking up front. 1st down yardage and more for the sophomore.
It took about 3 defenders to drag down DeJohn Packer. I think that interception that he had sort of lit a fire under him. I mean, he's running with so much power out of the quarterback position. I mean, not that he hasn't been playing well tonight, but it seems like the interception has given him a little extra juice.
1st and 10 from the Leigh 22. 4:24 remaining. There have been so many super softs this season. And this young man, the quarterback for Gunderson, DeJohn Packer, certainly one of them. And the handoff. Negron untouched till the end, fumbles the ball in the end zone, picks it up. It's a 22-yard score by Negron, his 3rd of the night. Gunderson with its largest lead of the night with the 6 points by Negron.
I know it's a hockey term, but can we refer that to it as a hat trick?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Hey, I'm always a fan of the cross-sport references, especially in this case. I mean, what a performance Negron has had. What a performance.
And you've got to credit the guys up front. He was untouched until he was almost in the end zone.
No, he was, and that's a key thing, because with a 3-4 defense that Leigh runs, sometimes they can disguise which linebacker they're going to bring up towards the line of scrimmage. But give credit to that Gunderson offensive line. They stay within their assignments. They understood what they had to do, And like you said, Negron just goes in untouched, and now Leigh's defense in a bit of a pickle. Now they must stop this 2-point conversion if they're going to give themselves any shot of getting themselves back into this.
Well, the timeout called by Steve Pappen, the head coach of Gunderson. And again, Phillip, without a reliable kicker, Coach Pappen has to talk this over. It's an 8-point ball game as it stands.
It really is, and this makes this 2-point conversion all the more important. And tonight, 1 out of 3 from 2-point conversions. It's not exactly...
Maybe the drop kick. Will we see the drop kick?
Perhaps. Perhaps. I mean, that would not be such a bad idea. But they got to get a little bit unconventional here. Now, how they go about that, that's going to be up to Coach Pappen. But I'm going to be curious to see what they do, because if you don't convert this point after here, Leigh still got a shot to get back in this, because they can get a touchdown 2-point conversion, possibly forcing this into overtime.
The biggest kick of the night for Ulysses Merritt, the 6'1", 185-pound senior. Merritt, did he get it through? No, wide right once again, and he's on the ground, no flags. And nope, roughing the kicker against Leigh. That is huge.
Giving them a second opportunity. Now, I know they haven't been all that sharp on the kicking game, but you got to think, with a gifted second chance, Coach Pappen's not going to waste any time here. I think he's going to talk it over with some of his players. He's talking to his quarterback, DeJean Packer, right now.
Well, Merritt just threw the tee off the field. You know, I like the call of going for the point after, Phillip, and the fact that there is a lot of football left to play this season. And if Gunderson really develops a reputation of not even being able to attempt a point after attempt, that I think if Merritt could have sent that through, there would have been a little bit of redemption with that point after sort of aspect of this game. Instead, they're going for 2 after the penalty, the roughing the kicker penalty. And again, another play that will have an impact on this game in one form or another. And Gunderson, I believe, calls its 3rd timeout, and that is unfortunate in a ball game as back and forth as this one to have to call a timeout in this situation.
No, absolutely, because if you were Coach Pappen, you would want to at least save one of those timeouts for the very end if you get one last drive if you need it. But now this puts them at a little bit of a disadvantage, because at this point here, say you get the ball for one last possession and Leigh happens to get a touchdown +2, perhaps to tie this game up. Of course, it all depends on what happens with this extra point. But say you need that extra timeout, you don't have that anymore. So you're now forced to play sideline to sideline. Now you're forced to dig deeper into the playbook than you normally would like. And it puts Gunderson's team at a disadvantage, and it really puts pressure on the defense. Now they must tighten up in the secondary. They got a key turnover to set this whole thing up. They've got to be able to do that one more time.
On the Leigh sideline, Levon Donald looking like he's going through some sort of shoulder flexibility, range of motion with a trainer. I'm sure Leigh fans want to see him return. 2-point conversion. Melcher, the lone back. And Packer makes it in. Nope. Looked like he made it in for sure, but the late signal shows he did not. So Leigh with a bit of a big play there, Phillip, but they need to get their offense, or at least their return man, get their special teams to allow their offense in position, or maybe even better, pick up 6.
Well, the defense did their job. I mean, I know they allowed the 6 points for Gunderson, and that's going to be their own issue in of itself. But that stop was huge, because now, with it being an 8-point game, you have a chance to convert touchdown +2. If they had even made that extra point, even with it being 9 points, you're still looking at a 2-possession game here. Now that changes everything. This still becomes a 1-possession ball game. That's exactly what you'd want with this type of offense that Leigh has. And I know that with that last turnover, Gabe Davis might be a little gun shy. He can't be that anymore. He's got to make the throws that he made in the first half. He's got to be the catalyst now, because with the uncertainty of Levon Donald's return, the game's riding on his arm now. He has to be the guy that comes through in the clutch. He's got the weapons. He's got the guys to throw to. He's got to utilize them, make the right decisions, and guide this offense down the field so that way Gunderson doesn't have time.
Cosentino and Druin, the return man. Cosentino from his own 15, cutting around the far sideline and tackled out of bounds at the 40 off the Merritt kick. 3:50 left to go in the ball game. Leigh trailing 32-24.
And that's the kind of start you want if you're the Leigh Longhorns. You have about 60 yards to play with. You got 3:50 to go. You've got a couple timeouts at your disposal. The pressure really has to be on the Gunderson defense right now, because Leigh's offense has shown a lot of big play potential. Now, a lot of that's going to be handicapped because Levon Donald's on the sideline. But still, Sean Cosentino, let's see how he handles the increased workload. He's going to be the guy now.
He is in the backfield alongside Davis. 1st and 10 for Leigh from their own 40. Davis looking to throw on 1st down. He has a receiver. And caught. 1st down is the call. So just like that, Leigh into Gunderson territory.
Another nice catch by Brian Galvin, and utilizing the sideline so that way Leigh doesn't have to use a timeout. Very smart play.
And a flag is thrown.
Not too sure what this penalty is. I didn't see any movement on the line of scrimmage.
Gunderson looks unhappy.
Perhaps lining up in the neutral zone? That's the only explanation I could guess.
Was the whistle blown, though?
Yeah, it actually was. I mean, I could even see the
Yes.
side judge going through, throwing the flag on the way in. So
That is a painful penalty. 1st and 5 for Leigh. Ball now at the Gunderson 44. Davis looking to throw on 1st down. Chase is coming, trying to get out of bounds, and he's shoved out of bounds. Davis still trying to orchestrate, trying to conduct his receivers, if you will. You take the other sports reference, I'll use the music.
Sure.
Trying to create a big play opportunity.
And that was actually the right terminology there. I mean, trying to conduct. I mean, Davis on the run, trying to get his receiver to come in just to give him a chance, at least a throwing lane to make something happen on.
Loss of 1 on the play. 2nd and 6. 3:34 left to go. Cosentino breaking around the far sideline, showing his speed, and dropped at the 14. Pressure is on Cosentino, and he delivers.
Well, that run was great by Cosentino. That block by Brian Galvin was key. There's not enough to be said for wide receivers that can give themselves up on a play to block. He does not do that. That's not as big of a play. So that block right there by Galvin was very, very key. Cosentino responding to the increased workload here. I love it.
Clock continues to tick.
And they don't need a rush, which is beautiful.
1st and 10 from the Gunderson 15, nearing the 3-minute mark. Davis on a keeper. Room to run, gets upended. I believe that was Melcher on the play. Yep.
A hard hit on Davis, too. he hit the turf at nearly a breakneck speed.
Pickup of 3. Cosentino trying to come around the right side, sneaks his way through a few defenders, threads the needle, and close to the goal line. Another example of raw speed.
Starting to look like Levon Donald out there a little bit. Doesn't seem like it makes a difference who's in the backfield. I mean, whether it's Donald or Cosentino, both have made a big impact on this game. And now Leigh just knocking on the door.
First and goal from the 2. 2:10 and ticking here in the fourth quarter. Leigh trailing by 8. Gunderson defense adjusting. Davis calling his own number, and Davis dives into the end zone. Touchdown, Longhorns.
Well, that's part of the equation now. Gabe Davis did what he had to. I thought he was going to have to use his legs, but he ends up using his arms. So now, at this point, you have to go for 2. There is just absolutely no way around it. You cannot afford to let Gunderson get one more shot. Even though they've got no timeouts, you've got to make sure you've got to exhaust all options here.
Even with a money kicker like Leichman, the opportunity presented, Leigh has to go for 2. 1:53 left to go. They trail 32-30. Davis knew he was going to call his own number, and it looks like he's going to get in. There's been no signal. No good.
Oh, wow.
Talk about adding to some drama from our officiating crew. Gunderson. Huge sigh of relief, but this game, as we have learned, Philip Kern, when these two teams face off, nothing is safe or for certain.
No.
1:53, Leigh onside kick, and if they do, I have been told by their head coach, Coach Padilla, he is so certain of his kickers that not only will Leichman be the kicker on point after's field goal, he will handle the onside kicks. He is so accurate. His coach has such confidence in him. And Leichman indeed is out on the field as Etafa is on the sideline. Gunderson still has a big play to make. Leigh as well.
And now you see the hands crew out there with Gunderson on the return team. Philippe Negron, watch him. He could be the key guy on this one.
No one back deep for Gunderson. Leichman right to the Longhorns. And the ball will be spotted at the 45. I think that got away from Leichman a little too much.
Yeah, a little too much gusto on that one. But here's the thing now that sets this whole thing up. Gunderson's got no timeouts. So they're going to be forced to play sideline to sideline, at least if something were to happen here. So now, if you're Leigh, you got to make the big stops and force them out, essentially. I mean, actually, what Gunderson wants to do is keep the ball in bounds. So if you're Leigh, you want to try to force them to the sidelines, so that way you don't have to. You're not forced to use any of your timeouts. So Gunderson, what they're going to have to do, just try and keep running up the middle. Force Leigh to use all their timeouts and leave them no recourse.
Gunderson, 1st and 10 from their own 45, playing with a 32-30 lead. Minute 53 left in regulation. Melcher, who has fumbled, gets wrapped up, and Elijah Mosley makes the tackle, and Leigh calls a timeout. Minute 46 left in the ball game.
This game is not lacking any drama whatsoever. I'm feeling my heart beat out of my chest right now. It's just such a tense atmosphere here.
There is a Penny Leigh marker down on the field as the officials are huddling up.
The flag sort of in the secondary where that was thrown, so trying to put my best guess as to what they could be calling here.
Well, and the referee, whenever they go, they begin writing things down, right? And here is our referee, Steve Carter. As Coach Kyle Padilla out on the sideline. Here's our referee. Personal foul against Leigh.
Ooh, that hurts.
I'm not sure if something was said to an official, but that is extremely painful.
Yeah, and that hurts. I mean, and especially after such a nice stop on that first down run, and now you basically gift Gunderson with another set of downs, and they're able to move down the field. Now your back's against the wall if you're the Leigh defense.
So the referee again coming over to make perhaps more of an explanation to the head coach in what has been a relatively, and I use that word somewhat loosely, clean game. Again, the injuries that have marred this fourth quarter, and now a call like that. Unfortunate, but the teams will play on. Ball spotted at the Leigh 40, 1st and 10 for Gunderson. Minute 46 left to go. The Grizzlies with a 2-point lead. Packer. And the scrum stands him up. You know, because of Gunderson's trouble holding onto the ball, as Leigh calls a timeout here, Phillip, I don't think the Grizzlies' sideline is not on pins and needles about the ball slipping out.
No, and they shouldn't be, because I think what I've seen from Nick Melcher tonight, he's got that ball security thing figured out. I think the fact that he got fed early and often after the fumble was essentially Coach Pappin's way of giving him a vote of confidence. Say, look, I still trust you with the ball. Make something happen, hold on to the ball, and the big plays will come. And he did have that one touchdown that was called back, so the explosive factor is in play. But I just think the fact that he was reassured by getting fed the ball constantly, even after the fumble, was a great strategic play there by Coach Pappin.
Well, and Gunderson, Leigh has a kicker. Even though his 40-plus attempts have failed, the 2 tonight, he has shown that he can hit one during the season. So Gunderson, first downs are essential for them to clinch this victory. 2nd and 10 as no gain on the previous play. Minute 36 remaining. And now the whistles blow.
There's some movement on the line. I'm not sure. Maybe that's a false start, because Leigh didn't really cross the line of scrimmage.
They did not cross the line of scrimmage. And it's encroachment.
Wow.
It's a 2nd encroachment penalty tonight on Leigh. So here they are. It is crunch time. We've had a personal foul penalty and an encroachment penalty. And the coaching staff asking the referee, and now the referee is trying to break free to, I think, show the call. Oh, and they've changed the call. So an overrule, and I take back what I just said. False start against Gunderson.
Well, we've had a couple of those confusing penalties tonight, and
that was definitely an overrule as the encroachment was first shown.
Oh, no question. I mean, even with the movement on the line for Leigh, they didn't cross the line of scrimmage. So you couldn't even rule neutral zone infraction there.
No. 2nd and 15 from the Leigh 45. Again, minute 36 left to go. Negron, who's been a bright spark, gets tackled by the ankles. Mario Morales with the tackle. And 3rd and 12 for Gunderson. Everyone is writing things down on our officiating crew.
And it looked like a timeout was called, and initially the referee pointed to Gunderson, which was a little confusing because I didn't think they had any timeouts left. And okay, haven't seen that hand signal before.
Well, and the clock is still not running. I,
Maybe they thought a timeout was called. I mean, that's what it looked like to me.
And Leigh trying to show, I think everyone looking to see that the clock in false start against Gunderson. So only 1 second comes off the clock.
Gunderson keeping this further alive than they really need to. So now they forced a 3rd and 17.
I'm a little unclear as to why the clock wasn't started.
I'm not too sure as to why either, but
A timeout must have been called on the field. I believe that would be Leigh's final timeout. So after such a momentum-switching game, we've stalled a bit,
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
has the Gunderson offense. 3rd and 17, another crucial play. And whistles blow once again. And here comes penalty, and the crowd is getting restless, Philip.
I don't blame them. I mean, and maybe it was the broadcaster's jinx, but we were always talking about how clean this game was.
Let's not take responsibility for
well,
that.
well, I think we get a halftime reprieve. I think that's the broadcaster's rule. Anything you talk about after halftime of a football game, I think you get a reprieve from it.
Sounds good to me.
I think that's how it works.
The ball now spotted in Gunderson territory. I think that was a delay of game penalty. I can't imagine what else it would be. 3rd and 22 for Gunderson. 90 seconds remaining.
Just a lot of miscommunication here.
And you see Packer with the carry. And they're running the clock. They're saying he was not out of bounds as the clock continues to tick.
And Leigh trying to drag Packer out of bounds and didn't quite do it. And as soon as I saw the side judge wave his arm saying keep the clock running, just those little nuances there.
We're at the minute mark. It's 4th and 22. Merritt on to punt.
And Gunderson's just going to take their time here. They are
yeah.
no hurry at all.
Crosco back deep for Leigh. Leichman warming up on the sideline, the field goal kicker. 34 seconds. And that'll be a delay of game penalty. So this will back up Gunderson. The clock is stopped, 30.2 seconds remaining.
You know, it's really not a bad penalty to take because you really milked the clock as much as you could because, I mean, Gunderson doesn't have any timeouts now. But now you're looking at 30 seconds right now. You would think the punt would take off at least a couple of it. You're looking at basically Leigh with about 25 seconds to at least get into field goal range. Not impossible, but it is a task. Very much a heavy task for them.
Well, and perhaps Leigh is going to rush here. A blocked punt would be magnificent if you're a Leigh's fan. Merritt gets it off. And hit right away, and the ball comes loose. Can you believe it? Our official is going to wait to signal. They're going to say Leigh ball. 22.1 seconds remaining.
Close call. I thought Gunderson had recovered that. Another fortuitous bounce, but now.
Oh my gosh. 1st and 10 from the 22 for Leigh. They have shown they have big play capability. They need to show it now.
They have to play sideline to sideline here.
Gunderson defense, perhaps their biggest task of the night. Davis with the out throw and getting out of bounds is Galvin.
Smart play there. Good out route there by Galvin. His 4th, maybe 5th catch of the evening. And it gets him closer to midfield, but they've still got a lot of work to do.
15.6 seconds remaining as the chains move, the whistle blows.
Still got a chance to get into field goal range here, though.
Gabe Davis, the senior quarterback. Davis going to another sideline, and Melcher, what a play.
A little bit of a fan reaction here as the clock continued to roll even after the...
And our referee asking to put more time on. Brings up second down. Everyone on edge here.
Absolutely.
Everyone on edge. Woo. At the bowl. 12 seconds on the clock. 2nd and 10 for Leigh, out of timeouts. 32-30, they trail in a game that's had a little bit of everything. You're watching PlayOnSports.com. Happy to bring you a nail biter like this one. Davis rolling out to his right. Here comes Gunderson, sack. Gunderson with the sack. The first sack of Leigh tonight. The Grizzlies, a come-from-behind victory, 32-30. Gunderson stuns Leigh.
And what irony that a game that was filled with offense ends with a quarterback sack, a defensive play to close it out. Talk about things coming full circle here in this opening week of Santa Teresa Division play. Both teams fought hard. It was a very well-played game. Gunderson just had a little more at the end, and they deserved this victory.
We'll return with our PlayOnSports.com post-game show, and we'll have an interview with our player of the game. Don't you dare go away. See who it is in a game that had so many standout players from each side. Philip Kern and I, Kirsten Fairchild, will have our player of the game when we return to Leigh High School. Gunderson 32, Leigh 30.
We can get a player up here.
Oh, that's good stuff.
All right, perfect. Prepare a Wiley Ballard graphic.
Do you want me to start the stream?
Start the stream. Camera 3. Beautiful. We're coming in on 1.
For more information on how your school can join the Play On School broadcast program, go to playonsports.com/SBP.
Welcome back to Leigh High School. Gunderson, a 32-30 winner over Leigh, and we're here with our PlayOnSports.com player of the game, the senior running back, Felipe Negron. Felipe, what a big second half you had. TD runs of 25 yards, then 64 yards, then 24 yards. Congratulations on being our PlayOnSports.com player of the game. It was a war in the trenches out there. How do you rate as a senior this ball game as far as being competitive goes?
Well, last year I know that we didn't come out as competitive for our senior night. We kind of had a down season, but this year we kind of taken the time to get the chemistry up and the leadership. So I kind of hold the glue to the team. I have to keep them up. So we knew it was going to be war off the bat. We knew it was going to be a good football team. We knew their offense was going to come out strong, so we had to play through it.
I think your consistency in the second half proved to be so essential for Gunderson because your team was not without its problems. You had some injuries. You had some real trouble on point-after attempts and two-point conversions. You almost like the stress. Do you thrive under the pressure?
It really brings out my character, I believe, and it brings out a lot of the character in the players if you could just fire up and motivate them, because that's what a lot of teenagers need in the varsity football.
What do you make of your sophomore quarterback?
He's really improved. We weren't expecting to have him play quarterback because of a few injuries during the summer. He had to step up, and he's actually made a lot of improvements as a sophomore quarterback.
Your head coach told me before this game that it was such an essential win to win the divisional opener, especially against a team like Leigh.
Yes.
What does this victory mean to you?
It's going to keep us going for the season. We wanted to be the hunted team. We wanted to be the #1 contender to win that B-League. So we're going to do whatever it takes to win it.
Well, congratulations again on being our
Thank
PlayOnSports.com player of the game, Felipe Negron, the senior running back for Gunderson. Gunderson, a 32-30 winner over Leigh. Don't you dare go away. We'll have more with the PlayOnSports.com postgame show when we return in just a few minutes.
We can get a player up here.
Oh, that's good stuff.
All right, perfect. Prepare a Wiley Ballard graphic.
Do you want me to start the stream?
Start the stream. Camera 3. Beautiful. We're coming in on 1.
For more information on how your school can join the Play On School broadcast program, go to playonsports.com/SBP.
Welcome back to Leigh High School. The Gunderson Grizzlies win the divisional opener 32-30 over Leigh. I'm Kirsten Fairchild alongside Philip Kern. Thank you so much for joining our PlayOnSports.com post-game show. Philip, Leigh led at the break 17-14, but you had to know this one was going to go back and forth like the seesaw it was in the first half.
No, it absolutely was. And, of course, big plays were the theme from first half to the end, and especially starting in the first quarter. It was almost a pinball type of pace. I mean, we saw big plays from the quarterback for Gunderson tonight, the 64-yard scamper, and that just seemed to turn the whole game on its head. Big special teams plays tonight. It seemed like everything was brought into focus tonight. But it seemed as though Gunderson made the right adjustments starting on the second half, because it's really not that easy to come back from a halftime deficit, because especially with Leigh having the home field advantage, going into the lead with halftime, they had the wind at their backs. And even with the back and forth pace, even with the Gunderson advantage on the big play scale, Leigh was in control until the fourth quarter, and Gunderson just made the right calls, they made the right adjustments, and everything just changed.
The Longhorns moved to 1-3 overall, 0-1 in league play. But you have to think, Philip, that the future looks bright for them. They have a lot of pluses. They have playmakers. They've got that great kicking and punting game. They certainly have aspects to their offense and their defense. You would have to think they'd have to be in the hunt for a league title.
They absolutely are. I mean, just the balance on their offense tonight, that's what's going to make them very, very dangerous. But what's really going to be interesting to watch is how Levon Donald recovers from this injury, because I seem to think that when he went down, it kind of took the wind out of their sails, because they had that big play aspect there on the ground. And he broke the 100-yard barrier easily tonight, we're guessing. But when he went down, and it just brought a stop to the whole momentum of the game, because once it kept going, once it was back and forth, Leigh and Gunderson were right in step for step. But that sort of injury timeout, whether they realize it or not, I think it gave Gunderson a little bit of an extra edge there. It took out that big play dimension that Leigh had thrived on and really put the game squarely on the arm of Gabe Davis. And he did very well tonight. I mean, he made plays with his arm, made plays with his legs. But I just think losing your big play guy like that, especially when it's so close to the end, very, very unfortunate turn of events. But Leigh's got nothing really to be frowning upon here tonight, because they played a great game. They kept it very close. But it's really going to be interesting to see how Levon Donald recovers. If he can recover from this injury, whatever the case was, and bounce back next week, do not count out the Longhorns. They are very, very dangerous.
Gunderson moves to 3-1 overall, 1-0 in Santa Teresa division play. After their struggles last year in this division, Coach Steve Pappen, I'm sure, is very happy to come out of Leigh High School with a victory.
Oh, and just catching some of his post-game speech to his players, he's pumped. He was absolutely pumped. It was like he was back in the SaberCats days again. But I wanted to point out something that Felipe Negron said in your post-game interview with him, how they wanted to be the hunted team. Now, normally players won't come out and say that unless they're very confident in what they're doing. And that is a very, very big deal, because he would come out and say, look, we want to be the hunted team. And basically acknowledging that they had a down season last year. And it really takes a lot to say, look, we didn't play as well as we wanted. They wanted to make the changes that they needed to make. And going forward, I mean, you could see the cohesiveness is very different. As you said, we got a chance to cover them last year. There was a big difference as far as the chemistry, as far as how their leadership goes, just all together. It all fit. And once they keep this going, they will be in contention for a Santa Teresa title, perhaps even propelling them to a CCS tournament. You just never know.
It was a whale of a ball game. Thank you so much for joining us. On behalf of the producer, Brad Youngquist, our cameraman, Nico Chastain, my partner tonight, Philip Kern, I'm Kirsten Fairchills. Thank you for tuning in to PlayOnSports.com. It's our privilege to bring you Friday night football on your home, your destination for high school sports. From San Jose, so long, Gunderson 32, Leigh 30 in Blossom Valley Athletic League Santa Teresa Division play.
One match away from immortality.
This is a total team effort.
We're gonna come at you. One shot at this.